Hello guys, welcome to Fictional Vortex. So in this video, we will see what if Naruto was the vampire progenitor, the king who surpassed Alucard Naruto x Serafall, Hellsin / High School DxD. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. Chapter 1, Crimson Awakening. The night air carried the scent of blood. Naruto perched atop a Tokyo skyscraper, crimson eyes scanning the sprawling cityscape. 5 centuries had passed since the hidden villages faded into legend, yet his senses remained sharp as ever. Tonight, something was wrong. You feel it too, don't you, Kurama? Naruto whispered. The nine-tailed fox's voice rumbled in his mind. Someone's disturbing the balance. Someone powerful. Naruto stood, his black coat billowing in the wind. At 25, his transformation had frozen him in his prime, tall, athletic, with whisker marks that had darkened to jagged black lines across his cheeks. His golden hair now had crimson streaks, a side effect of the ritual that had forever changed him. Guess our quiet century is over, he said, stepping off the edge of the building. He fell 70 stories, landing in an alley with barely a sound. The few humans nearby felt only a cold breeze as he moved past them at supernatural speed. Tokyo had become a nexus for supernatural activity in recent decades. Devils, angels, yokai, and countless other beings had established territories throughout the metropolis. Naruto avoided their politics, preferring isolation. Tonight, however, something had drawn him out. 3 blocks ahead, he sensed it, a flare of demonic energy, followed by several signatures winking out. Death. Naruto darted through side streets, reaching a high-end hotel within seconds. The building's upper floors were warded against human attention, a telltale sign of supernatural occupation. Several windows had shattered, and the subtle smell of magic permeated the air. He scaled the building effortlessly, slipping through a broken window on the 15th floor. Inside, destruction greeted him, furniture reduced to splinters, walls cratered, and bodies scattered across marble floors. Devils, from the look of them. Someone crashed their party, Naruto muttered, kneeling beside a corpse. The devil's essence had been drained, leaving behind a desiccated husk. This isn't normal devil fighting. Kurama's energy stirred within him. This reminds me of chakra absorption techniques, but with demonic energy. A crash from above caught Naruto's attention. The battle wasn't over. He leapt through the ceiling, reinforcing his body with chakra and vampiric power. Emerging into a penthouse suite, he found chaos. A diplomatic meeting, judging by the formal attire of the remaining combatants. At the center of the room stood a woman with long black hair tied in twin tails, wearing an outfit that seemed absurdly out of place, a magical girl costume, complete with a star-topped staff. Despite her playful appearance, her aura radiated immense power. A Satan-class devil. She fought against a tall figure draped in gray robes, whose hands glowed with stolen energy. 3 more devils lay at his feet, their life force visibly draining into his body. That's quite enough, the woman shouted, her cheerful voice contrasting with the deadly ice spears she launched. You're crashing our party, and I didn't even get to serve the cake. The robed figure caught one of the spears, which melted in his grasp. Serafall Leviathan. Your power will be an excellent addition to my collection. Naruto recognized the name immediately, one of the 4 great Satans, the leaders of devil kind. This wasn't a random attack, it was an assassination. The attacker thrust forward, moving with unnatural speed. His hand nearly touched Serafall's chest before Naruto intervened, appearing between them in a flash of crimson. Sorry to interrupt, Naruto said, catching the attacker's wrist. But I hate party crashers. The robed figure jerked back, eyes widening beneath his hood. You, what are you? Naruto grinned, revealing elongated canines. Just a concerned bystander. He twisted the attacker's arm and kicked him across the room, sending him crashing through a marble pillar. The move was deliberately restrained, he wanted information, not a corpse. Serafall jumped back, her staff pointed at Naruto. And who might you be, mysterious stranger? You don't feel like a devil or an angel. Let's say I'm complicated. Naruto kept his eyes on the attacker, who was already rising from the rubble. Your friends downstairs didn't make it, by the way. Serafall's playful expression faltered. The junior diplomats, he killed them all. Worse. He consumed them. The robed figure laughed, a hollow sound that echoed unnaturally. A vampire? No, something more. He pulled back his hood, revealing a face that seemed to shift between features, as if struggling to maintain a single identity. I didn't expect to meet another collector tonight. I don't collect anything, Naruto replied coldly. Don't you? The Nine-Tails power, the sage's chakra, and vampire blood, quite the combination. The figure straightened his robes. You may call me Lazarus. We'll meet again, Progenitor. Before either could react, Lazarus dissolved into shadows, slipping through the cracks in the walls and vanishing. Serafall immediately turned to Naruto, her staff glowing with power. Progenitor? As in vampire progenitor? That's impossible. Naruto shrugged. Most things about me are. He turned to leave. Wait. Serafall moved to block his path, dropping her cutesy act. You can't just walk away. This was a diplomatic summit between 3 devil houses, and now I've got multiple casualties and an unknown assailant who apparently knows you. I don't know him, Naruto clarified. But I know his type. Power-hungry, willing to absorb others to get stronger. Like Orochimaru, Kurama commented internally. So you're really... Serafall studied him closely. The rumors of a golden-haired vampire who commands the old powers, they're about you? Naruto sighed. He'd tried to stay beneath notice for decades, but rumors always spread. Look, I don't want trouble with the devil factions. I just felt the disturbance and came to investigate. A groan from across the room interrupted them. One of the fallen devils was still alive, barely. Serafall rushed to his side, placing her hands over his chest. Healing magic flowed, but the devil's essence had been too depleted. Serafall-sama, the devil whispered. He came for, the archive's information, about the original Mao. Save your strength, she urged. Too late, he has what he wanted. The devil's eyes glazed over as death claimed him. Serafall closed his eyelids gently, her playful demeanor completely gone. This is bad, she said. If he's after information on the original Mao, we could be facing a serious threat to the underworld's stability. Naruto moved toward the window. Not my problem. It could become everyone's problem. Serafall stood, her power flowing around her. Including yours, Progenitor-san. He seemed very interested in what you are. Naruto paused. She had a point. I need to report this to the other Saiyans, Serafall continued. But I'd also like to speak with you further. Someone with your unique perspective might help us understand what we're dealing with. Naruto considered her request. He'd spent centuries avoiding entanglements with supernatural politics, yet something about this Lazarus character troubled him. The way he'd absorbed power reminded him too much of techniques from his own past. Fine, he relented. But not here. There's a ramen shop in Shinjuku that stays open late. Meet me there in 2 hours. Ramen? Serafall's eyebrow raised. You're a vampire who eats ramen. Naruto flashed a genuine smile for the first time. Some habits survive even immortality. Before she could respond, he vanished in a swirl of crimson energy, reappearing atop a neighboring building. From there, he watched as more devils teleported in, responding to what must have been Serafall's magical signal. Getting involved with devils again? Kurama's voice held a note of amusement. You said you were done with supernatural politics after that mess with the yokai 2 decades ago. This feels different, Naruto replied, watching Serafall directing the newcomers with surprising authority despite her eccentric appearance. That Lazarus guy knew what I was. Really knew. Few beings remember the ninja era, let alone what you became afterward. Naruto nodded, his mind drifting back 5 centuries. The Fourth Great Ninja War had ended, but the peace that followed brought its own challenges. At 23, Naruto had become a respected figure, yet restlessness plagued him. The hidden villages were changing, modernizing, and his role as a walking weapon of mass destruction seemed increasingly obsolete. He traveled to the ruins of Uzushiogakure, searching for connections to his clan's past. Among the rubble of the once great village, he discovered sealed chambers that had remained untouched for generations. There's so much history here, he told Kurama as they explored ancient libraries filled with forbidden knowledge. So many jutsu the world's forgotten. It was in the deepest chamber that he found it, a scroll sealed with blood symbols unlike any he'd seen. Breaking the seal required both his Uzumaki blood and Kurama's chakra, a combination unique to him. Inside lay the clan's darkest secret. During the Warring States period, Uzumaki seal masters had captured and studied an ancient being, a true immortal whose blood could bestow eternal life. A vampire progenitor, Naruto read aloud. They sealed its blood but couldn't destroy it. The scroll detailed how the clan had eventually deemed the blood too dangerous and sealed it away, but not before documenting its properties. The progenitor's blood, when mixed with certain chakras, could create a superior immortal, one who retained their humanity while gaining vampiric powers. Naruto had hesitated only briefly before taking the vial of ancient blood. The world was changing, and perhaps he needed to change with it. The ritual had been excruciating, the vampire blood fighting Kurama's chakra while Naruto's own life force acted as mediator. For 3 days, he'd lain in a sealed cave, his body transforming. When he emerged, he was something new, not quite human, not quite fox, not quite vampire, but a fusion of all 3. The power was intoxicating, terrifying in its potential. "What have I done?" he'd whispered, watching his reflection fade from a pool of water. "Something unprecedented," Kurama had answered. "You're now truly one of a kind." Naruto's reminiscence ended as Kurama nudged his consciousness. "You're being watched," the fox warned. Naruto didn't turn around. "I know. He's been there since we left the hotel." On a water tower 50 meters away stood a figure in a red coat and wide-brimmed hat. Even at this distance, Naruto could see the glint of orange glasses and the smirk on the man's pale face. "Alucard," Naruto muttered. "Hellsing's attack dog. He probably felt your power when you intervened." "Probably." Naruto turned, facing the other vampire directly. "What do you want, Alucard?" The vampire's grin widened as he realized he'd been noticed. With theatrical slowness, he removed his glasses. "So the rumors are true," Alucard called across the distance. "The ninja who became more than I am." "I'm not looking for trouble with Hellsing," Naruto replied. "No." Alucard laughed. "Yet trouble seems to find you. The Leviathan Satan doesn't meet with outsiders lightly. What caught her interest, I wonder? Ask her yourself." Alucard vanished, reappearing just meters from Naruto. "I'd rather ask you. What is a being who has avoided supernatural politics for a century doing in the middle of devil business? Coincidence? There are no coincidences for beings like us." Alucard circled him slowly. "You know, I've always wanted to test myself against the fabled progenitor who surpassed even me." Naruto didn't move. "Not tonight, Alucard." "No." The vampire seemed disappointed. "Your predecessor would never have declined a challenge." "I'm not him." "Clearly." Alucard stopped circling. "Integra has instructed me to observe only, for now. The Hellsing organization has concerns about recent energy disruptions across the supernatural community. The attack tonight appears connected." You know something about Lazarus? The name is familiar from ancient texts. If it's the same being, then all factions have reason to worry. Alucard's expression grew serious. He was old when I was young, a being who could absorb the essence of others. Why are you telling me this? Because Integra believes that if this threat is real, even Hellsing might need outside assistance. The word seemed to pain him. Naruto understood. The proud organization asking for help, even theoretically, meant the situation was dire. I'll keep that in mind, Naruto said. For now, I have a ramen date to prepare for. Alucard laughed. Ramen? Centuries of life, and that's still your weakness. How disappointingly human. That's the point, Naruto replied, turning away. Staying human is what separates us, Alucard. It's why I'll never become what you are. We'll see, the vampire replied cryptically before dissolving into a swarm of bats that scattered into the night. Naruto checked his watch. He had an hour before meeting Serafall. Time enough to change and ensure he wasn't followed. Ichiraku Ramen, the name had survived centuries, even if the original shop was long gone. The current incarnation sat nestled between modern buildings in Shinjuku, a small establishment with a long counter and private booths in the back. The recipes had changed over the years, but the spirit remained. Naruto sat in the farthest booth, dressed in casual clothes, jeans, a black t-shirt, and an orange jacket. Despite his immortality, he'd adapted to changing fashions, though orange always featured somewhere in his wardrobe. He sensed Serafall before she entered. She'd also changed, wearing a blue blouse and black skirt that made her look almost normal, though her magical energy remained unmistakable. The shop owner nodded respectfully as she passed. Like many establishments in Tokyo's supernatural districts, this place knew to mind its business when powerful beings visited. You actually came, Naruto remarked as she slid into the booth across from him. I said I would. Serafall studied him. You look different without the doom and gloom vampire aesthetic. And you look different without the magical girl costume. She laughed, the sound surprisingly genuine. That's my work uniform. It makes other devils uncomfortable, which gives me an advantage in negotiations. Smart, Naruto acknowledged. A waitress approached, and Naruto ordered without looking at the menu. Miso ramen with extra pork. And whatever she wants. The same, Serafall said, then waited until the waitress left before leaning forward. So, Progenitor-san, do you have a name? Or should I just call you, mysterious vampire, in my report? Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki. Japanese? You don't look it. I was born here. Before it was called Japan. Serafall's eyes widened slightly. That would make you old, Naruto finished. Let's leave it at that. Their ramen arrived, steaming and aromatic. Naruto broke his chopsticks with practiced ease, while Serafall watched curiously. I thought vampires only drank blood, she remarked. Naruto slurped a mouthful of noodles before answering. Normal vampires, yes. I'm different. Because you're the progenitor? Partly. And partly because of what I was before. Serafall tasted her ramen, making an appreciative sound. This is good. No wonder you picked this place. She took another bite before continuing. So, about Lazarus, my sources found some concerning information after I reported the attack. What kind of information? He's appeared throughout history, always during periods of supernatural transition. The fall of ancient pantheons, the great war between angels and devils, the yokai migrations, always collecting power from dying factions. Naruto nodded. Makes sense. Easier to hunt when your prey is already wounded. The concerning part is his pattern. He doesn't just feed randomly. He systematically targets leadership figures, absorbing their unique abilities. Serafall set down her chopsticks. Tonight wasn't his first attack on devil kind. 2 minor house leaders disappeared last month. And now he's after information on the original Mao, Naruto added. Planning to move up the food chain. Exactly. Serafall's playful demeanor had completely vanished, replaced by sharp intelligence. Which is why I need to understand what he meant when he called you Progenitor. That title has significant implications. Naruto considered deflecting but decided against it. This situation might require transparency. 500 years ago, I found ancient vampire blood sealed away by my clan. Through a ritual combining that blood with my unique chakra, I became something new, a vampire progenitor more powerful than the original. Chakra? You mean magical energy? No, chakra. Was different from magic. A combination of physical and spiritual energy used by ninja. Serafall's eyes widened. Ninja? You mean the historical shinobi? Naruto nodded. Though what humans remember about ninja today barely resembles what we were. The hidden villages, the great wars, the tailed beasts, all faded into legend. That would place you during Japan's warring states period. Close enough, Naruto agreed, not bothering to explain the separate reality the ninja world had once occupied. Those dimensional barriers had collapsed centuries ago, merging their world with this one. And Alucard? I felt his presence nearby after the attack. He's curious. Hellsin must be investigating these incidents too. Serafall finished her ramen, setting the bowl aside. This puts me in an awkward position, Naruto-san. Protocol demands I report your existence to the other Saiyans. A vampire progenitor is classified as an SSS-rank potential threat. I've existed for centuries without causing problems for devil kind, Naruto pointed out. True. Which is why I'm considering a compromise. She folded her hands on the table. Help me investigate these attacks, and I'll classify you as an allied independent entity rather than a potential threat. Naruto raised an eyebrow. That's simple. Politics rarely is, but I have significant autonomy in foreign affairs. Her expression became serious. Besides, Lazarus recognized you. You're already involved whether you like it or not. She has a point, Kurama commented. Internally. And this Lazarus character's abilities concern me. What exactly would this partnership entail? Naruto asked. Information sharing, joint investigation, and mutual support if Lazarus attacks again. Serafall leaned forward. I'm not asking you to swear allegiance to devil kind, just to work together against a common threat. Naruto considered the offer. Working with Serafall would give him access to devil intelligence networks, potentially helping him understand why Lazarus knew about him. And if the being was targeting faction leaders, having advance warning would be valuable. Alright, he finally agreed. But I work my way. No committees, no bureaucracy. Serafall smiled, her eyes lighting up. Perfect. I hate bureaucracy too. She produced a small crystal from her purse. This is a communication charm. It will allow you to contact me directly. Naruto accepted the crystal, feeling its magic pulse against his palm. So, what's our first move? I need to attend an emergency meeting with the other Saiyans tomorrow. After that, we should investigate the sites of previous attacks for energy signatures. She stood, leaving money for the ramen. Meet me at Ueno Park tomorrow night, near the lake. 8 o'clock. Make it 9. Surzex talks a lot. She winked, her playful persona returning. Until then, Progenitor-san. With a subtle flash of magic, she teleported away, leaving Naruto alone in the booth. Interesting woman, Kurama noted. Smart to maintain that childish persona as misdirection. Devils are natural manipulators, Naruto replied. Even the honest ones. You trust her? About as much as I trust any political leader. He stood, leaving additional payment for the meal. But she's right about one thing, we need to know why Lazarus recognized me. Outside, the Tokyo night pulsed with life. Naruto moved through crowds of humans, none aware of the supernatural currents flowing around them. He headed toward his apartment in Ikebukuro, a modest place he'd maintained for decades under various names. Halfway there, he sensed something wrong. A familiar emptiness in the spiritual atmosphere, like a void-consuming ambient energy. Naruto changed direction immediately, following the disturbance to a small shrine tucked between office buildings. The protective barriers around the shrine had been shattered, and inside, he found a scene eerily similar to the hotel. A yokai, powerful by their standards, lay desiccated on the stone floor. Fresh, Naruto muttered, touching the body. Minutes old. A rustle from the shrine's interior caught his attention. Naruto moved silently toward the sound, finding a small fox spirit hiding behind the altar. "It's okay," he said gently in ancient Japanese. "I won't hurt you." The spirit trembled but emerged. You smell like Kurama-sama." Naruto smiled sadly. Few remembered the Ninetales' true name anymore. "I'm his friend. Did you see what happened here?" The fox nodded. "A shadow man came. Grandfather tried to stop him from taking the sacred mirror, but the shadow man," he put his hand on grandfather's chest and... The spirit's voice broke. "The mirror? What mirror?" "The yokai reliquary mirror. It shows reflections of power sources." The fox spirit looked around fearfully. Grandfather was its guardian. Naruto frowned. A mirror that revealed power sources would be invaluable to someone hunting specific targets. "Thank you," he said, placing a gentle hand on the spirit's head. "Find your kin and warn them. Tell them to avoid strangers, especially those who ask about powerful yokai." The spirit nodded and darted away. Naruto stood, examining the shrine more carefully. Lazarus was moving quickly, gathering both information and tools for his hunt. The communication crystal in his pocket warmed. Naruto pulled it out, seeing Serafall's face within. "Naruto-san, there's been another attack," she said without preamble. "A yokai shrine in Ikebukuro." "I know. I'm there now." Her expression registered surprise. "How did you, never mind. What did you find?" "A dead guardian and a stolen artifact, a mirror that reveals power sources." Naruto looked around the shrine. "Lazarus is tracking specific targets. This confirms my suspicions." Serafall's voice dropped lower. The other attacks followed this pattern, information gathering followed by targeted strikes. "Can you secure the shrine? I'll send specialists to examine the energy signatures." "It's already done." "But Serafall, he's accelerating his timeline. This attack came hours after the hotel, not days." Her face grew serious. "The summit's been moved up. I'll meet you at Ueno Park as soon as I can get away, midnight at the latest." The crystal went dark. Naruto pocketed it, looking once more at the desiccated yokai. Whatever Lazarus was planning, he was gathering resources quickly. Too quickly for comfort. "We should prepare," Kurama suggested. "If he's hunting power sources, we're likely on his list." Agreed. Naruto left the shrine, moving at supernatural speed toward his apartment. Time to dust off some old equipment. Naruto's apartment occupied the top floor of an unassuming building. To human eyes, it appeared modest, a living room, bedroom, kitchen, and study. The supernatural would notice the subtle protective seals etched into doorframes and window sills. But only those with knowledge of ancient ninja arts would recognize the complex dimensional pocket hidden behind the study's back wall. Naruto pressed his palm against a seemingly normal section of wall, channeling a specific combination of chakra and vampiric energy. The wall rippled, revealing a hidden room filled with artifacts from another age. Scrolls lined shelves, weapons hung on racks, and in the center, a mannequin displayed battle armor combining ninja pragmatism with materials that could withstand supernatural combat. Been a while, Naruto murmured, running his fingers over a kunai made of chakra-conductive metal. Hope I'm not too rusty. Your body remembers, Kurama assured him. Though your equipment might need updating. Naruto nodded, moving to a workbench. Over centuries, he'd modified his fighting style and equipment to accommodate both his vampire abilities and the changing world. Modern weaponry held little appeal, but he'd developed specialized tools for supernatural combat. He selected a set of kunai inscribed with seals that disrupted magical energy, a reinforced coat with storage seals sewn into the lining, and specialized paper tags designed to counter various supernatural abilities. As he prepared, memories surfaced, battles against gods and monsters, years spent mastering his new nature, the slow realization that he would outlive everyone he'd ever known. He'd withdrawn from the world after watching Konoha transform from hidden village to modern city, its ninja heritage fading into myth. A soft chime from the communication crystal interrupted his thoughts. Serafall's face appeared, her expression tense. Change of plans, she said quickly. Meet me at Tokyo Tower immediately. Lazarus has been spotted. I'm on my way. Naruto grabbed his equipment and headed for the balcony. Be careful, Serafall added. Reports say he's not alone. The crystal went dark as Naruto leapt from his balcony, pumping chakra to his legs to enhance his jumps across Tokyo's rooftops. Tokyo Tower glowed in the distance, its orange-red lights visible for miles. I sense multiple energy signatures, Kurama warned as they approached. Powerful ones. Naruto landed on a building across from the tower, assessing the situation. Tourist hours had ended, but supernatural energy crackled around the structure. Near the top observation deck, 3 distinct auras clashed, one he recognized as Serafall's icy power, another the void-like presence of Lazarus, and a third that felt jarringly familiar. Is that? Naruto focused his enhanced senses. Sage Chakra, Kurama confirmed. Corrupted, but definitely Sage Chakra. Naruto moved immediately, channeling power to cross the distance in a single leap. He crashed through a window into the observation deck, landing in a scene of chaos. Serafall stood encased in a sphere of ice, deflecting attacks from 2 figures. Lazarus hung back, watching as his companion, a woman with pale skin and horn-like protrusions, launched attacks that combined physical strikes with nature energy. Ah, right on time, Lazarus called upon seeing Naruto. I was hoping you'd join us, Progenitor. Naruto ignored him, moving to Serafall's side. You okay? She nodded, though her breathing was labored. His friend hits harder than expected. The horned woman stopped her assault, studying Naruto with disturbing intensity. So much Sage Chakra, she whispered. So pure. Who are you? Naruto demanded. A relic, like yourself, she answered. You may call me Kagaya. Naruto tensed. Impossible. Kagaya was sealed away. The woman laughed. Not the original, of course. But Lazarus-sama found her essence preserved in a dimensional pocket. With his help, I've been reborn with a fraction of her power and memories. She's the first of my new family, Lazarus added, stepping forward. A prototype, you might say. Soon, I'll have absorbed enough unique powers to create more such vessels. Serafall glanced at Naruto. Friend of yours? Ancient history, he replied grimly. Kagaya was a being from my era who tried to consume all chakra. We defeated her. Evidently not thoroughly enough, Serafall muttered. Lazarus spread his arms. I've spent centuries collecting extraordinary abilities, waiting for the right moment to reshape the supernatural world. Tonight was meant to be a simple acquisition, the Leviathan's power would make a fine addition, but finding you as well. Fortune smiles upon me. Why me? Naruto asked, buying time as he assessed their options. The observation deck offered limited maneuverability, and civilians occupied the lower levels. Because you're unique, Lazarus replied. A progenitor vampire with the power of a tailed beast and natural sage chakra. Your 3 supernatural lineages in one vessel. Kaguya stepped forward, her hands glowing with corrupted nature energy. I'll extract the sage chakra, master. The rest is yours. Naruto moved instantly, creating a shadow clone that pulled Serafall back while he engaged Kaguya directly. Their collision shattered windows throughout the observation deck, supernatural energy cascading outward. Kaguya fought with techniques that mirrored ancient ninja arts, but corrupted by her unnatural resurrection. Bone spikes erupted from her palms as she thrust toward his chest. Naruto countered with practiced ease, centuries of combat experience flowing through his movements. He parried her strike and launched a counterattack, his fist connecting with her sternum. You fight like them, she hissed. The ones who sealed me. I am them, Naruto replied, chakra swirling around his hand to form a spiraling sphere. Rasengan. The technique slammed into Kaguya, sending her crashing through a support beam. But she recovered quickly, her body regenerating before his eyes. Meanwhile, his shadow clone helped Serafall fend off Lazarus, who moved with calculating precision. Unlike Kaguya's aggressive style, Lazarus fought defensively, analyzing their techniques. Your ice is formidable, Satan, Lazarus commented as he dodged a barrage of icicles. But I've absorbed powers from beings far older than devil kind. Serafall's response was a massive ice construct that formed around her, a mechanized armor that enhanced her movements and amplified her magic. Then you haven't met many devils, she quipped, her voice echoing metallically. We're quick learners. The ice armor's fist crashed into Lazarus, sending him stumbling back. He laughed, wiping blood from his mouth. Excellent. Your power will serve me well. Naruto dodged another of Kaguya's bone spikes, feeling the observation deck starting to destabilize. Serafall. We need to move this fight away from civilians. She nodded, her ice armor shattering outward in a distracting explosion of shards. In that moment, Naruto created multiple shadow clones that engaged both enemies while he grabbed Serafall and leapt from the tower. They landed in a nearby park, civilians scattering at the sight of their supernatural descent. Moments later, Lazarus and Kaguya followed, the latter floating on wings of bone and energy. Clever, Lazarus acknowledged. But ultimately futile. Naruto formed hand seals, channeling chakra. I disagree. You chose the wrong battlefield. He slammed his palm into the ground. Earth style, Terra shield. The park's ground erupted, forming walls that separated them from civilian areas. Simultaneously, Serafall created ice barriers to reinforce the perimeter. Now we can fight properly, Naruto said, crimson energy swirling around him as he tapped into his vampiric nature. His canines lengthened, eyes glowing red, as centuries-old power awakened. Serafall glanced at him, momentarily startled by his transformation. That's quite the power-up. You haven't seen anything yet, Naruto replied, golden chakra beginning to mix with the crimson. Ready? She nodded, ice forming around her hands. Let's show them what happens when you crash a Satan's party. They moved in perfect synchronization, as if they'd fought together for years. Naruto's frontal assault drew Kaguya's attention while Serafall targeted Lazarus with increasingly complex ice spells. The park became a battlefield of elemental fury, ice, earth, fire, and wind clashing in spectacular combinations. Kaguya's bone techniques grew more desperate as Naruto countered each attack. How are you this strong? She demanded after he shattered a cage of bone spikes. You're just a fragment of the original ninja. Wrong, Naruto replied, chakra chains erupting from his back to bind her temporarily. I'm what they evolved into. He formed a familiar cross seal. Multi-shadow clone technique. Dozens of Narutos appeared, each radiating the same crimson-golden energy. They surrounded Kaguya, attacking from all angles with coordinated precision. Meanwhile, Serafall had forced Lazarus into a defensive position, her ice magic having frozen one of his arms completely. Impressive, Lazarus admitted, his free hand glowing as he attempted to absorb the ice. But futile. Is it? Serafall smiled, forming a complex magical circle. You're so busy trying to absorb my ice that you didn't notice the real attack. The ground beneath Lazarus erupted in a pillar of water that instantly froze, encasing him completely. Serafall immediately followed with a second spell that shattered the ice into thousands of pieces, each containing a fragment of Lazarus. That won't hold him long, she warned Naruto. He's already reconstituting. Sure enough, the ice fragments were melting unnaturally fast, flowing together like mercury. Naruto nodded, disengaging from Kaguya momentarily. I have an idea, but I need 30 seconds. You've got 15, Serafall replied, renewing her assault on both enemies to buy time. Naruto closed his eyes, channeling chakra differently. Within his mindscape, he stood before Kurama. Ready for this, partner? He asked. The fox grinned. Always. Naruto emerged from his meditation, his appearance transformed. Golden chakra enveloped him entirely, forming a glowing cloak. 9 tails of energy swayed behind him, and black markings resembling seals covered the aura. What is that? Serafall gasped, momentarily distracted. Something old, Naruto replied, his voice overlaid with Kurama's deeper tones. Something that predates devilkind. Lazarus, now partially reformed, stared with undisguised hunger. The 9 tails' power, magnificent. Naruto moved faster than eyes could track, appearing before Kaguya. His hand shot forward, chakra chains erupting to bind her completely. You are not Kaguya, he said firmly. Just a shadow created from fragments of her essence. Return to nothing. His palm pressed against her forehead, golden chakra purifying the corrupted energy that maintained her form. She screamed, her body dissolving into particles of light that scattered in the wind. No. Lazarus shouted, lunging forward despite his incomplete reformation. She was my perfect creation. Naruto turned to face him, tails of chakra swirling defensively. Your turn. But Lazarus was already retreating, his body melting into shadows. Another time, Progenitor. I've learned what I needed from this encounter. Before either Naruto or Serafall could pursue, he vanished completely, his energy signature disappearing from their senses. The golden chakra surrounding Naruto faded as he released the transformation. He staggered slightly, and Serafall moved quickly to support him. That was something else, she said, helping him to a nearby bench. You okay? Naruto nodded, catching his breath. It's been a while since I used that form. Takes more out of me these days. Serafall sat beside him, her own magical energy dimming as she recovered. So, care to explain what just happened? Who or what was that Kaguya person, and how does Lazarus know about beings from your era? Kaguya was an ancient threat from the ninja world, a goddess who tried to reclaim all chakra for herself. We sealed her away in another dimension. Naruto frowned. But that wasn't really her, just an imitation created from fragments of her essence. Which Lazarus somehow acquired, Serafall added. Along with knowledge about you and the 9 tails. Naruto nodded. He's been collecting information and powers for centuries. The question is, why now? What's his endgame? Serafall's communication crystal glowed, and she grimaced as she checked it. That's Surzex. The other Satans felt our battle from the underworld. She stood. I need to report this immediately. Go. I'll check the area for any traces Lazarus might have left behind. She hesitated. You're not going to disappear on me, are you? Because after what I just saw, I have about 1,000 questions. Naruto smiled tiredly. I'll be around. Use the crystal when you're done with your meeting. Serafall studied him for a moment before nodding. Thank you for your help tonight. Without you, I might have become Lazarus's newest power source. You held your own pretty well, Naruto acknowledged. That ice armor was impressive. She grinned, her playful demeanor returning. One of my special moves. I call it Miracle Leviathan Mecha Ice Armor. Naruto couldn't help laughing. Of course you do. With a wink, Serafall teleported away in a swirl of ice and light, leaving Naruto alone in the damaged park. He stood slowly, surveying the battlefield. Their fight had transformed the landscape, frozen earth, shattered trees, and craters marked where supernatural powers had clashed. City authorities would attribute it to a gas explosion or some other cover story. The supernatural world had long since infiltrated human institutions to maintain secrecy. That was no imitation of Kaguya, Kurama said as Naruto examined the residual energy. It was a fragment of her actual power, somehow preserved and implanted into a new vessel. Which means Lazarus has access to dimensional pockets from our era, Naruto concluded. Places that should be inaccessible to modern supernatural beings. Something isn't adding up. His knowledge is too specific, too accurate for someone who shouldn't have connections to the ninja world. Naruto knelt, touching a patch of ground where Kaguya's energy lingered. Unless he was there. The implication hung heavy between them. If Lazarus had witnessed the ninja era firsthand, he was far older than they'd assumed, and potentially more dangerous. As Naruto continued his investigation, a familiar presence approached. He didn't bother turning around. Enjoying the show, Alucard? The vampire emerged from shadows, his red coat vibrant against the night. Immensely. You're full of surprises, Progenitor. Spying for Hellsin, or just curious? Both. Alucard circled the battlefield, examining the damage with appreciation. Integra will be interested to know that the Leviathan Satan is working with you. It's temporary, Naruto clarified. A mutual problem. Isn't it always? Alucard grinned. Alliances of convenience that somehow become permanent entanglements. You'll learn, young vampire. I'm older than you. In years, perhaps. But in vampire politics? Alucard laughed. You're still a novice. Naruto stood. Did you come just to mock me, or do you have something useful to share? Perhaps both. Alucard's expression grew serious. Lazarus has appeared in Hellsing records before. 3 centuries ago, he attempted to absorb my master's ancestor. He failed but escaped. What did Hellsing learn about him? That he's ancient, predating even vampire kind. Some texts suggest he was human once, a sorcerer who discovered a method of stealing life force during the earliest civilizations. Alucard shrugged. Whether that's true or mere legend is unclear. Naruto considered this information. Why tell me this? Because Integra believes, as do I, that his return signals something significant. Alucard's red eyes gleamed. Supernatural powers don't act randomly, Progenitor. If Lazarus is moving now, after centuries of quiet collection, something has changed. What does Hellsing want from me? For now, information sharing. If you learn something crucial about Lazarus, we would appreciate being informed. Alucard began dissolving into shadows. Consider it professional courtesy between immortals. And in return? Alucard's disembodied laugh echoed as he vanished. I won't hunt you, for now. Naruto sighed as the vampire's presence faded completely. One more complication in an already complex situation. He checked his watch, nearly dawn. Time to retreat before early morning joggers discovered a supernaturally destroyed park. As he turned to leave, his enhanced senses detected something unusual, a small object half buried in disturbed soil. Kneeling, he excavated what appeared to be an ancient coin, its surface covered with symbols he recognized from the Warring States period. On one side was an emblem he knew well, the Uzumaki spiral. This isn't a coincidence, he murmured, pocketing the coin. Lazarus wanted me to find this. A message? Kurama suggested. Or a taunt? Naruto looked around once more before leaping away, heading toward his apartment as the first rays of dawn broke over Tokyo's skyline. Whatever game Lazarus was playing, it had just become personal. Serafall didn't contact him until late afternoon. When the communication crystal finally glowed, Naruto had spent hours researching the coin and meditating on his encounter with the fake Kaguya. "Sorry for the delay," Serafall said, looking exhausted even through the crystal's display. "Politics. Everything okay?" "Define okay." She sighed. "The other Satans are concerned about Lazarus targeting leadership figures. They've enacted emergency protective measures for all high-ranking devils." "And what about you?" She smiled faintly. "I've been assigned to continue investigating with you, since we've already established a working relationship. Officially, you're now classified as an allied independent entity." That was fast. "Your display of power last night was convincing. Nobody wants to risk antagonizing someone who can go toe-to-toe with a Satan-class devil and a goddess imitation simultaneously." Her expression grew serious. "Plus, I showed them the surveillance footage from Tokyo Tower." Naruto frowned. "There were cameras. Magical recording spells. Standard procedure for areas where I operate." She shrugged apologetically. "The higher-ups needed to understand what we're dealing with." "Fair enough." Naruto held up the coin. "I found something after you left. An Uzumaki clan coin from my era." Serafall leaned closer to her crystal. "That's specific. Lazarus left it?" "Must have. It's a message, he knows exactly who I am, including my clan origins. Which supports the theory that he's been collecting information about powerful beings for centuries." Serafall rubbed her temples. "I've been going through ancient archives all day. There are scattered references to a being matching his description throughout devil history. Alucard said something similar. Apparently Hellsing encountered him 300 years ago." "You spoke with Alucard?" She raised an eyebrow. "Interesting company you keep. He found me after you left. Hellsing is concerned about Lazarus too." Serafall nodded. "Makes sense. An entity that can absorb powers would see Alucard as a prime target." She checked something off-screen. "I need to attend one more briefing, but after that, I'd like to examine that coin. Can we meet? My place would be safest. I have protective seals that even Lazarus would struggle to penetrate." She looked surprised. "You'd invite me to your home? That's unexpectedly trusting." Naruto shrugged. "These are unusual circumstances. Besides, I've had 5 centuries to prepare contingencies for unwelcome guests." "Charming." Serafall laughed. "Send the location through the crystal. I'll be there around midnight." The connection ended, and Naruto spent the next few hours strengthening his apartment's defenses. He activated dormant seals, prepared emergency exits, and arranged weapons strategically throughout the space. "You're expecting trouble," Kurama observed. "Better prepared than surprised," Naruto replied, checking a specialized seal array designed to counter energy absorption. "If Lazarus has been planning this for centuries, he's bound to have contingencies for every scenario. Including finding your home?" "Especially that." Naruto frowned. "He left that coin as a message. He's playing with us, revealing just enough to keep us reactive instead of proactive." "So we change the game," Kurama suggested. "Stop reacting, start hunting." "Exactly." Naruto finished his preparations and sent the apartment's location to Serafall through the crystal. Then he settled into meditation, connecting deeply with both his chakra and vampiric essence. In the centuries since his transformation, he discovered that vampiric blood enhanced his sensing abilities far beyond what had been possible as a human ninja. By combining this with Sage Chakra, he could detect specific energy signatures across vast distances. He focused on the memory of Lazarus's unique void-like aura, extending his senses outward in expanding circles. Tokyo's supernatural landscape blazed in his awareness, countless yokai, devils, angels, and other entities going about their business, unaware of the ancient predator in their midst. Nothing. Lazarus had hidden himself thoroughly. Naruto was about to end his meditation when he caught something, not Lazarus's signature, but a familiar corrupted sage chakra. Remnants of the false Kagaya, moving purposefully through Tokyo's underground. His eyes snapped open. She survived. Impossible, Kurama argued. We purged her completely. Not completely enough. Naruto stood, grabbing his equipment. She's heading toward Shibuya, moving through the subway tunnels. He accessed the communication crystal. Serafall, change of plans. I've detected Kagaya's energy signature near Shibuya Station. Meet me there. Her reply came immediately. On my way. Don't engage alone. Naruto was already moving, leaping from his balcony and racing across rooftops. The sun had set, cloaking the city in darkness perfect for vampiric speed. He reached Shibuya within minutes, diving into the crowded station and following the corrupted energy downward. Service tunnels branched beneath the main subway lines, most restricted to maintenance personnel. Naruto avoided security cameras as he navigated deeper, the corrupted chakra growing stronger. Something's wrong, Kurama warned. The energy pattern is distorted. Naruto slowed his approach, enhancing his senses further. The fox was right, the signature pulsed unnaturally, almost mechanically. It's a trap, he realized, stopping completely. Too late. The tunnel ahead erupted in blinding light as explosive tags, modern versions infused with corrupted sage chakra, detonated simultaneously. The blast wave hit Naruto like a physical wall, sending him crashing through concrete. As dust settled, Lazarus's voice echoed through the rubble. Predictable. You ninjas always did rush headlong into danger to protect others. Naruto extracted himself from debris, regenerating minor injuries instantly. Using Kagaya's energy as bait. Clever. I've had centuries to study how you think, Naruto Uzumaki. Lazarus emerged from shadows at the tunnel's far end. Your compassion remains your greatest weakness. Funny, I've always considered it my strength. Naruto formed a hand seal, creating shadow clones that circled Lazarus cautiously. Where's the real Kagaya fragment? Gone. Absorbed back into me. Lazarus spread his arms. She served her purpose, confirming my suspicions about your capabilities. So last night was just a test. Of course. I needed to see the legendary Ninetales power firsthand. Lazarus smiled thinly. Though your ice-wielding friend was an unexpected bonus. Her power will complement my collection nicely. You're not getting anywhere near her, Naruto growled. Too late. Lazarus gestured behind Naruto. She's already here. Naruto sensed Serafall's approach seconds before she entered the tunnel, magical ice forming around her hands. Sorry I'm late, she called. Station security was, she stopped, eyes widening at the scene. Oh. Welcome, Leviathan, Lazarus greeted. I was just explaining to your friend how perfectly you walked into my trap. Serafall's eyes narrowed. Bold of you. To assume I didn't know it was a trap. She raised her hand, revealing a glowing magical circle. I brought friends. The tunnel shook as magical circles appeared throughout the space, each bearing the crest of a different devil house. Back up, she explained to Naruto. When you mentioned Kagaya surviving, I knew something was wrong. Lazarus clapped slowly. Well played. But did you really think I came alone? The ground beneath them trembled as massive bone structures erupted upward, not Kagaya's techniques, but something similar. From the shadows emerged three figures, each bearing corrupted versions of powers Naruto recognized. May I introduce my latest family members, Lazarus said proudly. fragments created from powers I've collected over centuries. The first, a woman with pale blue skin, manipulated water that froze and shattered in chaotic patterns. The second, a hulking man, radiated corrupted earth chakra. The third, more disturbing than the others, appeared as a child with eyes that shifted between supernatural abilities. "You've been busy," Naruto commented, subtly signaling his shadow clones to reposition. "Creation takes time," Lazarus replied. "Each vessel must be carefully calibrated to handle the powers I've collected. Some combinations prove unstable." Serafall's magical circles glowed brighter. "Whatever you're planning, it ends here." Lazarus laughed. "On the contrary, Satan. It's just beginning." He snapped his fingers, and his three creations attacked simultaneously. The water wielder engaged Serafall directly, while the earth user collapsed tunnel sections to separate Naruto from his shadow clones. The childlike being remained beside Lazarus, observing. "Divide and conquer," Lazarus commented as chaos erupted. "The oldest strategy in warfare." Naruto dodged falling concrete, keeping his focus split between the immediate threat and Serafall's battle. She fought brilliantly, her ice magic countering the corrupted water techniques with precision. The earth user charged Naruto, fists encased in stone that crackled with unnatural energy. Naruto parried the first strike, feeling the impact reverberate through his enhanced body. "You're strong," Naruto acknowledged, countering with a kick that shattered the stone armor. "But predictable." The creature growled, its voice distorted. "Master said you'd be arrogant." It slammed both fists into the ground, sending a wave of corrupted earth chakra through the tunnel floor. Naruto leapt upward, adhering to the ceiling with chakra-enhanced feet. "That's not arrogance," he replied, forming hand seals. "It's experience. Wind style, pressure blade." Compressed air sliced through the creature's defenses, cutting deep into its artificial body. But instead of blood, black energy leaked from the wounds, quickly resealing them. "Regeneration," Naruto muttered. "Troublesome." Across the tunnel, Serafall had frozen her opponent completely, but the ice was already cracking as the water wielder converted her prison into a weapon. "Naruto," she called. "They're drawing power from Lazarus. We need to cut the connection." Naruto nodded, analyzing the energy flows with his enhanced senses. Sure enough, thin tendrils of void-like energy connected each creation to Lazarus, who stood back watching the battle with clinical interest. "Keep them busy," Naruto replied, creating more shadow clones. "I'll handle Lazarus." The clones engaged both creatures while Naruto focused chakra differently. Golden energy began flowing around him as he entered Sage mode, enhancing his perception and strength. Lazarus noticed the change immediately. Ah, Sage chakra. The power that once rivaled gods. He nudged the childlike creation forward. "Show him what you can do, little one." The child's eyes shifted, glowing with familiar energy, Sage chakra, corrupted but potent. It raised small hands, and the air distorted around them. He gave it sage abilities, Naruto realized, adjusting his approach. Clever. The child attacked with surprising speed, its small size belying tremendous power. Naruto defended carefully, studying its movements. Unlike the others, this creation fought with calculated precision, each strike targeting vital points. "You're different," Naruto noted, catching the child's wrist and absorbing the sage energy it attempted to use. "More intelligent." The child tilted its head. "I am prototype. Version 7. Its voice sounded mechanical, yet disturbingly innocent. "Master says I am nearly perfect." "Perfect for what?" "Vessel." The child's free hand thrust forward, nearly touching Naruto's chest before he twisted away. "For you." Understanding dawned. He's creating vessels to hold specific powers. "You're designed for sage users." The child nodded. "You see clearly. Master will be pleased." Naruto's expression hardened. Sorry, kid. I'm not interested in being anyone's power source. He formed a Rasengan, but hesitated. Despite its nature, the creation looked like a child. That moment of hesitation cost him. The child's fingers brushed his arm, and Naruto felt a sharp pull as it attempted to draw out his sage chakra. Enough. Naruto broke contact, jumping backward. Serafall. They're not just fighters, they're designed to extract specific powers. She nodded grimly, frost spreading across her opponent's body as she redoubled her efforts. The magical circles are almost ready. Lazarus smiled coldly. Too late. I've collected sufficient data on both of you. He raised his hand, and his creations immediately disengaged, returning to his side. This was merely reconnaissance. You're not leaving, Naruto growled, chakra chains erupting from his back. Oh, but I am. Lazarus's form began dissolving into shadow. I'll see you both very soon, at the gathering of powers. What gathering? Serafall demanded. Lazarus's smile widened as he continued fading. The one you'll announce tomorrow. A summit of faction leaders to address the threat I pose. Only his voice remained as his body disappeared completely. After all, what better way to collect every power I need than to have them conveniently gathered in one place? The three creations melted into the ground, leaving no trace of their existence. The magical circles Serafall had prepared flashed brilliantly, then faded as they found no targets. Damn it, she swore, ice shattering around her in frustration. He used us. Naruto released his sage mode, feeling the familiar fatigue that followed. He's been playing us from the beginning. The hotel attack, the shrine, Tokyo Tower, all to study our abilities and reactions. Serafall pressed a hand against the communication crystal, speaking rapidly in the devil language to whoever was listening. After a tense exchange, she turned to Naruto. Emergency protocol activated. All faction leaders are being moved to secure locations. Her expression was grave. But Surzex and Ajuka are proposing exactly what Lazarus predicted, a summit to coordinate our response. It's what he wants, Naruto warned. I know. But what choice do we have? Individual factions can't handle this threat alone. She ran a hand through her disheveled hair. We need a unified response. Naruto considered their options. If we refuse to gather, he'll pick us off individually. If we gather, we're playing into his hands. Unless we set a trap of our own, Serafall suggested. Let him think we're following his script, but prepare something unexpected. Naruto nodded slowly. It could work. But we'd need inside knowledge of how his absorption ability functions. And where would we get that? A slow smile spread across Naruto's face. I might know someone who specializes in impossible research. Someone who's been studying supernatural abilities for centuries. Serafall's eyes widened. You don't mean Ajuka Beelzebub? The devil scientist. Naruto dusted debris from his coat. If anyone can analyze Lazarus's power and develop a countermeasure, it's him. Ajuka rarely meets with outsiders, Serafall cautioned. Then it's fortunate I'm working with one of the four great Satans, isn't it? Naruto gestured to the destroyed tunnel. We should move. This place will be crawling with human authorities soon. Serafall nodded, creating a teleportation circle beneath them. My territory in the underworld. We'll be safe there while I arrange a meeting with Ajuka. As the circle activated, transporting them away from the ruined tunnel, Naruto couldn't shake the feeling that Lazarus was still watching, still calculating their every move. The game had only just begun. Chapter 2, Blood and Ice. Serafall's territory in the underworld looked nothing like the hellish landscape humans imagined. Lush gardens surrounded a mansion that blended classical architecture with modern comfort, all coated in a light dusting of perpetual snow. Welcome to my humble abode, Serafall announced as they materialized on a crystal pathway. Don't mind the snowmen. They're just my security system. Naruto glanced at the seemingly innocent snowmen dotting the garden. Each wore a different hat and scarf combination, but his enhanced senses detected powerful magic humming beneath their frozen exteriors. Cute but deadly, he noted. Matches your style. Exactly. She beamed, leading him toward the mansion. Most intruders underestimate them until they're frozen solid. Inside, the mansion defied expectations again. Rather than the extravagant palace befitting a Satan, Serafall's home felt surprisingly cozy: plush furniture, warm lighting, and walls adorned with a bizarre mixture of ancient devil artifacts and magical girl posters. Your face right now, Serafall laughed, watching Naruto take in the decor. Everybody has the same reaction. It's not what I expected, he admitted. Good. I hate being predictable. She gestured toward a comfortable sitting area. Make yourself at home while I contact Ajuka. There's blood in the fridge if you're hungry, synthetic, but high quality. Naruto raised an eyebrow. You keep vampire blood on hand? I keep everything on hand, she replied with a wink. Never know who might drop by. As Serafall disappeared into another room, Naruto explored the main living area. Despite the playful decorations, he noticed subtle defensive wards embedded in the walls and ceilings, powerful protection spells disguised as decorative patterns. She's smarter than she acts, Kurama observed. Most powerful beings are, Naruto replied quietly. The cheerful persona keeps enemies underestimating her. He paused before a display case containing what appeared to be ancient ninja tools, kunai, shuriken, and scrolls that predated the modern era. Interesting collection, he called out when Serafall returned. Ah, you noticed my little museum. She joined him by the case. I've always been fascinated by the ninja era. These artifacts were excavated from what was once called the Land of Water, I believe. Naruto nodded, recognizing techniques from the Hidden Mist village. Good condition, considering their age. Devils are excellent preservationists, she said proudly. When you live for thousands of years, you develop an appreciation for history. She touched a control panel, and a magical screen materialized in the center of the room. Ajuka is finishing some experiment. He'll meet with us tomorrow morning. The screen displayed complex formulas and diagrams. In the meantime, he sent preliminary research on energy absorption techniques. Naruto studied the information. Some of this resembles jutsu from my era. Chakra absorption was rare but not unknown. Jutsu. Ninja techniques. Naruto gestured to the symbols. This pattern here, it's similar to how the Rinnegan could absorb chakra. Serafall looked at him with renewed interest. You know, for someone who's lived centuries, you've shared remarkably little about your past. Most of it doesn't matter anymore, Naruto replied, his tone neutral. The ninja world is gone. Yet its powers clearly aren't. She sat on a nearby couch, patting the spot beside her. If we're going to stop Lazarus, I should understand what we're dealing with, including you. Naruto hesitated, then joined her. What do you want to know? Start with how a ninja became the vampire progenitor. That's not exactly a natural career progression. Despite himself, Naruto smiled. No, I suppose it isn't. He leaned back, memories surfacing. After the Fourth Great Ninja War, I felt purposeless. I'd spent my whole life working toward peace, and suddenly it was there. The villages were rebuilding, technology was advancing, and the need for shinobi was diminishing. So you went looking for a new purpose? I went looking for my roots, he corrected. The Uzumaki clan, my mother's people, were seal masters who'd been scattered during earlier wars. I thought understanding their legacy might help me find my place. Naruto described his journey to the ruins of Uzushigakure, the discovery of the sealed chambers, and eventually, the vampire blood. The scrolls claimed it belonged to the original vampire, a being who existed before recorded history. The Uzumaki had somehow captured a sample during an ancient battle. And you decided drinking ancient vampire blood was a good idea because... Serafall prompted, eyebrow raised. Naruto laughed. It wasn't that simple. The world was changing faster than I could adapt. New weapons were making ninja abilities obsolete. I saw a future where everything I knew would disappear. So immortality was your answer. Transformation was, he clarified. The ritual didn't just make me immortal, it fused the vampire blood with my existing powers. Kurama's chakra, the sage's energy I'd inherited, and my own life force all combined with the progenitor blood. Creating something entirely new, Serafall finished. A vampire with chakra abilities and a tailed beast's power. Naruto nodded. I didn't realize until later just how unique that combination was. Normal vampires can't manipulate chakra, their transformation sacrifices that ability for immortality and blood-based powers. So what happened after you transformed? A shadow crossed his face. I watched everything change. The hidden villages gradually integrated with the outside world. Chakra use declined as technology advanced. Eventually, the great ninja arts became mere legends, practiced by fewer and fewer people until they were forgotten entirely. That must have been difficult, Serafall said softly. Watching your entire world fade away. It was, Naruto admitted. For decades, I tried preserving what I could, teaching, recording techniques, establishing small enclaves where the old ways continued. But humanity moves forward, not backward. By the time the 20th century arrived, the ninja world existed only in stories and the occasional hidden scroll. And other supernatural beings? When did you first encounter them? They were always there, just separate, Naruto explained. As the barriers between dimensions weakened, different supernatural factions became more apparent. Devils, angels, yokai, they'd existed alongside the ninja world but rarely interacted directly. Serafall nodded thoughtfully. That matches our historical records. The barriers between realms were stronger in ancient times. The magical screen flickered, drawing their attention back to Ajuka's research. New formulas appeared, accompanied by a message, energy signature analysis complete. Subject demonstrates patterns consistent with primordial absorption techniques. Predates known devil methods. Primordial, Serafall murmured. That supports what Alucard told you about Lazarus predating vampire kind. Naruto stood, studying the new information. These patterns, they remind me of something from the Sage of Six Paths era. Techniques for absorbing natural energy. Could Lazarus be from your time? Possibly, or even earlier. Naruto frowned. The sage spoke of battles before ninja existed, conflicts between beings with godlike powers. Their discussion continued late into the night, analyzing Ajuka's research and comparing it with Naruto's historical knowledge. Eventually, Serafall showed him to a guest room, its defenses automatically adjusting to recognize him as an ally. Try to get some rest, she suggested. Meetings with Ajuka can be intense. Naruto nodded. Thanks for the hospitality. Not many devils would welcome a vampire into their home. Not many vampires would help a devil fight ancient energy-stealing maniacs, she countered with a smile. We're breaking all kinds of traditions. After she left, Naruto stood by the window, gazing at the strange sky of the underworld. Despite centuries of life, he'd avoided devil territory, preferring to remain neutral in supernatural politics. Times change, Kurama commented. Even for immortals. This Lazarus situation feels wrong, Naruto replied. The timing, the knowledge he possesses, his interest in faction leaders, he's planning something bigger than simple power collection. And his creations, those vessels designed for specific abilities. They're similar to White Zetsu from our era. Engineered to host particular powers, Naruto agreed. But why create vessels unless? Unless he's trying to resurrect something, Kurama finished grimly. Sleep eluded Naruto as possibilities turned in his mind. By morning, he'd formulated several theories, each more concerning than the last. Ajuka Beelzebub's laboratory defied conventional understanding of space. From the outside, it appeared as a modest research facility nestled in a remote region of the underworld. Inside, it expanded into seemingly infinite dimensions, each dedicated to different experiments. Dimensional manipulation, Naruto noted as Serafall led him through shifting corridors. Impressive. Ajuka created his own pocket dimension for research, she explained. Even I don't understand half the projects he works on. They found the Satan in a central chamber filled with floating holographic displays. Ajuka himself appeared surprisingly young, a handsome man with green hair and calculating eyes that evaluated Naruto immediately. So this is the vampire progenitor, he said without preamble. Fascinating energy signature. The tailed beast's chakra has fully integrated with your vampiric essence. Ajuka, Serafall chided. Basic greetings first, scientific dissection later. The scientist devil smiled faintly. Forgive my directness. It's rare to encounter truly unique supernatural beings. He extended a hand. Ajuka Beelzebub. Your assistance with the Lazarus situation is appreciated. Naruto shook the offered hand, feeling the subtle probe of Ajuka's magic attempting to analyze his energy. Naruto Uzumaki. And yes, I consented to this meeting, so you can stop the covert scanning. Ajuka laughed, genuinely amused. Sharp senses. Most beings don't notice my passive analysis. He gestured toward the central display. I've compiled everything we know about Lazarus, including data from your recent encounters. The display expanded, showing energy patterns, historical records, and theoretical models. Naruto recognized symbols from various eras, some predating even the ninja world. What am I looking at? He asked. Evidence that Lazarus isn't just ancient, he's primordial, Ajuka replied. These energy signatures contain patterns from the dawn of supernatural existence, when the boundaries between different powers were less defined. Serafall moved closer to the display. You mentioned a theory about his absorption ability? Indeed. Ajuka manipulated the display to highlight specific patterns. His method doesn't simply copy powers, it extracts the fundamental energy that manifests those abilities. Essentially, he's taking the source code, not just the program. Which explains why his victims are left as husks, Naruto concluded. Precisely. And why his artificial creations can use corrupted versions of the original powers. Ajuka brought forward another display. But what concerns me most is this pattern. The display showed energy flows between Lazarus and his creations, complex networks resembling a neural system. He's not just creating separate vessels, Ajuka explained. He's building components of a larger system, like organs of a body being developed independently before final assembly. Naruto exchanged glances with Serafall. You're suggesting his endgame isn't just collecting powers. I believe he's creating a unified entity, a being that combines all these abilities in a harmonized form. Ajuka's expression grew grave. The mythological implications are troubling. What mythology? Serafall asked. Several ancient traditions speak of a primordial being that existed before creation became differentiated, a singularity that contained all potential forms of power. Ajuka manipulated the display again, showing ancient texts from various cultures. When reality separated into distinct dimensions, human world, underworld, heaven, and so forth, this unified power supposedly fragmented. And Lazarus is trying to reassemble it, Naruto finished. It's a working theory, Ajuka cautioned. But it fits the evidence. His systematic targeting of different supernatural lineages, the creation of specialized vessels, the integration patterns between his creations, all point to reconstruction rather than simple collection. Serafall's expression hardened. If he succeeds, then conventional reality as we know it could be rewritten, Ajuka stated matter-of-factly. The boundaries between dimensions would collapse. Silence fell as they absorbed this possibility. Naruto found himself thinking of Kagaya and the infinite Tsukuyomi, another plan to reshape reality according to one being's vision. You mentioned countermeasures, he finally said. Ajuka nodded. Two approaches. First, a method to disrupt his absorption ability temporarily. He produced a set of small devices resembling coins. These emit a frequency that interferes with the energy extraction process. It won't stop him completely, but it will slow him down. And the second approach? Serafall asked. More radical, Ajuka admitted. A dimensional containment field that could potentially seal Lazarus completely, similar to how ancient beings were imprisoned in mythological accounts. What's the catch? Naruto asked, recognizing the scientist's hesitation. It requires enormous power to activate, more than any single faction leader possesses. Ajuka looked directly at Naruto. But perhaps not beyond a vampire progenitor with a tailed beast's chakra. You want me to power the seal, Naruto concluded. With assistance from multiple faction leaders, yes. Ajuka's tone remained clinical. The combined energy would create a dimensional pocket strong enough to contain even a primordial being. Assuming we can get close enough to use it, Serafall pointed out. Hence the summit, Ajuka replied. We lure Lazarus with the prospect of multiple faction leaders gathered in one location, but prepare the containment ritual in advance. Naruto considered the plan. He'll expect a trap. Certainly. But his confidence has been his consistent weakness throughout history. Ajuka highlighted several historical accounts. In each recorded encounter, Lazarus believed his absorption ability made him invulnerable. That arrogance can be exploited. Their strategy session continued for hours, delving into technical details and contingencies. By afternoon, they had outlined a plan that balanced risk with potential effectiveness. As they prepared to leave, Ajuka pulled Naruto aside. One moment, Progenitor-san. Something for you to consider privately. He handed Naruto a small device containing a separate set of data. My analysis of your unique condition. Your combined energies are still evolving, even after centuries. The vampiric essence continues integrating with the tailed beast's chakra in fascinating ways. Why tell me this now? Because in the coming conflict, you may need to access abilities you didn't know you possessed. Ajuka's expression revealed genuine scientific curiosity. Your potential exceeds even my model's predictions. Naruto pocketed the device. I'll keep that in mind. Serafall was waiting in the corridor, her earlier playfulness subdued by the gravity of their situation. Ready to head back. Actually, Naruto said, I think we should make another stop first. The yokai realm existed in yet another dimensional overlap with the human world. Unlike the structured hierarchy of Devil Society, yokai territories operated with more fluid boundaries, organized around natural features and ancient traditions. Remind me why we're visiting a nine-tailed fox shrine. Serafall asked as they traversed a forest of massive trees that dwarfed anything in the human world. Because if Lazarus is targeting fundamental supernatural powers, Kurama's original home might contain clues. Naruto moved confidently through the underbrush. The Fox clan keeps records dating back to the formation of the realms. And they'll just welcome us. A devil and a vampire. Naruto grinned. They'll welcome me. I have a certain connection to their lineage. They emerged into a clearing where an ancient shrine stood atop a small hill. Unlike the carefully maintained shrines of the human world, this structure seemed to grow organically from the landscape, its wooden pillars twisting like living trees. As they approached, fox spirits of various sizes appeared from the surrounding forest. Most had between 1 and 4 tails, their curious eyes fixed on the visitors. An elderly fox with 7 tails stepped forward, his form shifting between animal and humanoid. It has been decades, vessel of Kurama. You bring strange company to our sacred grounds. Greetings, Elder Yako, Naruto replied respectfully. This is Serafall Leviathan, a devil leader who comes in peace. The elder fox studied Serafall with ancient eyes. A Satan in fox territory. Unprecedented. Serafall bowed formally. I come with respect for your sovereignty, elder. We seek knowledge, not conflict. The fox seemed amused. Well spoken for a devil. He turned back to Naruto. What knowledge brings the Nine-Tails vessel to our shrine after so long? Information about primordial beings, Naruto replied. Specifically, a creature that absorbs the essence of supernatural powers, one that may predate the separation of realms. Elder Yako's expression grew serious. You speak of matters rarely discussed. He gestured toward the shrine. Come. Such conversations require proper setting. Inside, the shrine expanded impossibly, revealing a vast library of scrolls, tablets, and crystalline memory stones. Fox spirits moved silently through the collection, maintaining the ancient knowledge. The yokai have preserved records from before humans walked upright, the elder explained, leading them to a central table. We remember what others choose to forget. He placed his paw upon a crystal, which illuminated in response. Images formed within, swirling energies that gradually separated into distinct patterns. Before the realms divided, all power existed as one force, Yako began. The original kami, dragons, and spirits emerged from this unified energy. As conscious beings appeared, power fragmented into specialized forms, yokai energy, devil magic, angel grace, dragon fire, and countless others. The crystal showed this division, energy streams separating into distinct colors and patterns. This separation created balance, the elder continued. No single being could command all forms of power. Those who tried to reunite them invariably failed, their bodies unable to contain conflicting energies. But someone succeeded partially, Naruto suggested. Yako nodded. The legends speak of one, a being neither human nor spirit who discovered how to extract and preserve the essence of different powers. The ancient texts call this being Tatari, the curse-bringer. Tatari, Serafall repeated. Another name for Lazarus. Names change across cultures and millennia, Yako replied. But the description matches your adversary. Tatari was said to consume powers without fully integrating them, storing them for some greater purpose. Did the legends mention what that purpose was? Naruto asked. The elder fox gestured again, and the crystal's image changed to show a single massive entity consuming smaller beings. Tatari sought to recreate the primordial oneness, to become a new creator deity by reabsorbing all fragmented powers. That aligns with Ajuka's theory, Serafall noted. But the legends also speak of opposition. Yako manipulated the crystal again, revealing images of different spiritual leaders combining their abilities. When Tatari's plan became known, the first leaders of each realm, ancestor spirits, original angels, elder devils, dragon kings, and others, united to stop him. The crystal showed an epic battle, energies clashing on a scale that dwarfed modern conflicts. They couldn't destroy Tatari completely, Yako continued. His essence had become too diffuse, spread across too many stolen powers. Instead, they divided him, sealing fragments in separate realms. Which explains why he's appeared throughout history, Naruto realized. He's been gradually reconstituting himself, collecting the powers needed to break his fragmentation. Indeed. Yako looked troubled. If your Lazarus is truly Tatari reborn, then his recent activities suggest he has recovered enough fragments to begin the final phase of his original plan. Serafall leaned forward. Elder Yako, did the legends mention how the ancient leaders defeated Tatari? Any specific technique or approach? They used what you might call dimensional anchors, points of concentrated spiritual power that maintained the separation between realms. The elder fox retrieved an ancient scroll, carefully unrolling it on the table. Each leader contributed their unique energy to create these anchors, which prevented Tatari from merging the realms back into primordial chaos. The scroll showed diagrams remarkably similar to Ajuka's containment field concept. Dimensional anchors, Naruto murmured. Like Ajuka's containment field. Great minds across eras often discover similar solutions, Yako commented. The principle remains sound, maintaining separation through concentrated, balanced power. As they studied the ancient texts, a commotion outside caught their attention. The sounds of combat, magical explosions and shouting, disturbed the shrine's tranquility. "We have company," Naruto said, already moving toward the entrance. Outside, they found chaos. Lazarus's water-wielding creation had returned, accompanied by several new vessels, each displaying different supernatural abilities. They battled the fox spirits, who fought valiantly but were outmatched by the corrupted powers. "He followed us," Serafall realized, ice forming around her hands. "No," Naruto replied grimly. "He was already here, searching for the same information." They joined the battle immediately, Naruto creating shadow clones to protect the younger fox spirits while Serafall engaged the water wielder directly. Unlike their previous encounter, this time she was prepared, countering the corrupted water techniques with precisely calibrated ice magic. Elder Yako proved surprisingly formidable, shifting to a larger form that radiated ancient fox magic. His 7 tails became whips of spiritual energy that tore through 2 of the lesser vessels. Naruto found himself facing a new creation, one that mimicked yokai abilities with disturbing accuracy. It moved like a fox spirit but attacked with corrupted nature energy. "Your master's collecting yokai powers too," Naruto noted as he dodged a spiritual attack. "Ambitious shopping list." The creature snarled, its form flickering between humanoid and bestial. "Master needs all pieces. The great rejoining approaches. Not if I have anything to say about it." Naruto formed a Rasengan infused with Kurama's chakra, the spiraling orb glowing with golden red energy. "This is for the shrine guardians you killed." He slammed the technique into the creature, which screeched as the purifying energy tore through its corrupted essence. Unlike his previous encounters, Naruto didn't hold back, channeling enough power to completely dissolve the vessel. Across the clearing, Serafall had frozen her opponent solid, this time adding a secondary spell that prevented energy transfer. "The connection severed," she called. "It can't draw power from Lazarus anymore." The remaining vessels, sensing their disadvantage, began retreating toward the forest edge. Elder Yako pursued one, his spiritual energy binding the creature temporarily before it dissolved into shadow. As quickly as it began, the attack ended. The vessels vanished, leaving behind damaged shrine grounds and injured fox spirits. That was a diversion, Naruto realized, helping a young fox spirit to safety. "Where's Lazarus?" A deafening crash from inside the shrine answered his question. They rushed back inside to find Lazarus himself standing in the library, surrounded by floating scrolls and crystals as his void-like energy absorbed their contents. "Fascinating archives," he commented casually. "So much forgotten knowledge." Elder Yako growled, his form expanding further. "Desecrator. The sacred knowledge is not yours to take. On the contrary, old fox. This knowledge was mine long before your clan claimed guardianship." Lazarus's form seemed more solid than in previous encounters, his features no longer shifting but settled into an aristocratic visage with eyes that swirled with stolen powers. "I'm simply reclaiming what was once mine." Naruto stepped forward. "You're Tatari." Lazarus, or Tatari, smiled. "Ah, you've been studying. Good. It's always more satisfying when adversaries understand what they're facing." "The Curse-bringer," Serafall added, ice forming defensively around them. "The being who tried to collapse the realms." "Collapse is such a negative term," Tatari replied. "I prefer reunify. The separation of powers was a mistake, a fragmentation of what should remain whole." He gestured, and the knowledge he'd absorbed condensed into a swirling sphere that disappeared into his body. "The yokai records complete another piece of my collection." Now I need only a few more components before the rejoining can begin. You won't succeed, Naruto declared. The original leaders stopped you once. We'll do it again. Tadari laughed, the sound resonating with multiple voices. They were far stronger than you, Progenitor, and even they could only fragment me. Besides, they had the advantage of surprise. His expression hardened. I don't make the same mistakes twice. Without warning, he thrust his hand toward Elder Yako. A stream of void-like energy connected them before anyone could react. The Elder Fox howled as his spiritual essence began draining into Tadari. Naruto moved instantly, chakra chains erupting from his back to sever the connection. Serafall simultaneously launched ice spears that forced Tadari to defend himself. Too late, Tadari announced as the chains cut his energy stream. I have what I needed, the hereditary memory of the Fox clan. Elder Yako collapsed, his form shrinking back to a normal seven-tailed fox. Unlike other victims, he still lived, though severely weakened. You're planning the summit, aren't you? Tadari asked conversationally, as if they weren't in the middle of combat. Gathering the faction leaders to face me together. How predictable. If it's so predictable, why mention it? Serafall challenged, her ice armor forming around her once more. Because I want you to proceed. Tadari began dissolving into shadow again. Gather them all for me. Save me the trouble of hunting each separately. It's a trap, Naruto warned, moving to engage Tadari directly. Of course it is, Tadari replied, easily evading Naruto's attack. The question is, for whom? Before either could reach him, Tadari vanished completely, his laughter echoing through the damaged shrine. Outside, his remaining vessels likewise disappeared, retreating into the forest. Naruto knelt beside Elder Yako, channeling healing chakra to stabilize the ancient fox. He's alive, but weakened. Younger fox spirits gathered around their elder, taking over the healing process with their own abilities. One, a four-tailed healer, looked up at Naruto. Elder Yako will recover, but slowly. Fox spirits regenerate, but the essence Tadari stole cannot be replaced. What did he mean by hereditary memory? Serafall asked. The Fox clan preserves memories genetically, Naruto explained. Each generation inherits the knowledge of their ancestors, especially regarding spiritual matters. Which means Tadari now possesses ancient knowledge about the Fox clan's role in the original sealing, Serafall concluded grimly. The four-tailed healer nodded. Including the location of the yokai dimensional anchor that helps maintain the separation between realms. Naruto and Serafall exchanged concerned glances. If Tadari was targeting the dimensional anchors, the situation was even more serious than they'd realized. We need to warn the other faction leaders, Serafall said. If he's after the anchors, every realm is in danger. Elder Yako stirred weakly, his eyes finding Naruto. Vessel of Kurama, the anchors were created by the original leaders, their power signatures are needed to unlock them. Save your strength, Naruto urged. No. You must understand. The Elder Fox struggled to continue. Tadari doesn't just want the leaders' powers, he needs their specific spiritual signatures, the essence that connects them to their faction's anchor. The implications were clear, Tadari wasn't just collecting powers randomly. He specifically needed the faction leaders whose spiritual signatures would allow him to unlock the dimensional anchors. That's why he's targeting leadership figures, Naruto realized. Not just for their strength, but for their connection to the foundations of their realms. Serafall was already activating her communication crystal, urgently contacting the other Satans. After a brief, intense conversation, she turned back to Naruto. Emergency council convening now. All faction leaders are being notified about the anchors. Her expression was grim. Some may not know they exist, the knowledge was deliberately obscured over millennia to prevent exactly this scenario. Naruto helped arrange for the fox spirits to care for their elder before he and Serafall departed. As they left the shrine, the damage from the battle was already being repaired by younger foxes using natural energy to regrow damaged structures. "We'll return when we can," Naruto promised the four-tailed healer. "Kurama-sama's vessel is always welcome," the fox replied. "But beware, Tadari will not stop until all is won again." They traveled directly to the Devil Council chambers, where an emergency session was already underway. Representatives from all devil houses had assembled, along with emissaries from other factions, angels, fallen angels, various yokai groups, and even a representative from the Hellsing organization. Surpassed Lucifer, the crimson-haired leader of the four great Satans, presided over the gathering. Beside him sat Ajuka, who was already presenting findings about Tatari's activities. "The pattern is clear," Ajuka was saying as they entered. "Each attack has targeted either information about the anchors or individuals connected to their creation." Serafall took her place among the Satan leaders, while Naruto remained near the entrance, uncomfortable with the formal proceedings. The Hellsing representative, a stern woman in her 30s with long pale hair, noticed him immediately, her eyes narrowing in recognition. "Integra Hellsing," Naruto nodded respectfully. "I didn't expect to see you here." When ancient evils threaten reality itself, even Hellsing recognizes the need for cooperation, she replied coolly. "Though I notice my servant found you before this crisis became official. Alucard has a talent for being where things get interesting." "Indeed." Integra studied him with calculating eyes. "The vampire who surpassed Alucard. He's quite fascinated by you, you know." "The feeling isn't mutual," Naruto replied dryly. Their conversation ended as Surpassed addressed the assembly. "Our intelligence confirms that Tadari, the being calling himself Lazarus, has accelerated his timeline. We believe he now possesses information about most of the dimensional anchors, including their locations and the specific energies needed to access them." Murmurs spread through the gathered representatives. An angel emissary stood. "Heaven's archives contain no mention of these anchors. How can we be certain they exist?" "Because the knowledge was deliberately obscured," Ajuka replied. After Tatari's initial defeat, the original leaders recognized that widespread knowledge of the anchors would make them vulnerable. Each faction maintained only fragments of the complete information, a precaution against exactly this scenario. A fallen angel representative spoke next. "If that's true, how did this Tadari learn about them? Someone must have preserved the knowledge." "He didn't need to learn," Naruto interjected, drawing all eyes to him. "He was there when they were created. He's the reason they exist." Surpassed nodded. "The progenitor speaks truth. Tadari is not merely ancient, he predates the current structure of our realms. His original defeat necessitated the anchor's creation." The discussion continued, growing more heated as representatives debated appropriate responses. Some advocated immediate offensive action, others suggested reinforcing the anchors, while a few even proposed surrendering to prevent worse outcomes. Through it all, Naruto observed, noting the political dynamics and power struggles evident even in crisis. Devils maneuvered for advantage, angels maintained righteous distance, yokai representatives remained pragmatic but cautious. Serafall caught his eye across the chamber, her expression conveying shared frustration with the bureaucratic process. Despite the urgent threat, politics remained politics. Finally, Surpassed raised his hand for silence. "The Joint Council has heard all perspectives. Now we must decide. The proposed summit, gathering all faction leaders to combine our powers against Tadari, carries significant risk. He has made it clear he anticipates such a gathering. Yet separating makes us vulnerable to individual targeting," Ajuka countered. "Our analysis suggests our best chance lies in coordinated action, using Tatari's confidence against him." "A trap within a trap," Integra Hellsing noted. "Risky. But potentially effective," Serafall added. "Especially with the containment field Ajuka has designed." The debate narrowed to logistics, location, participants, safeguards. Eventually, a consensus emerged. The summit would proceed in a neutral location, with multiple defensive layers and contingency plans. 3 days, Surzex announced. We gather at the dimensional confluence, the nexus where all realms touch most closely. Each faction will contribute protection according to their strengths. As the meeting concluded, representatives dispersed to prepare their forces. Naruto found himself approached by Serafall, Ajuka, and surprisingly, Integra Hellsin. We need to discuss your role specifically, Ajuka began without preamble. The containment field requires a power source unlike any faction leader can provide. You want me to be the battery, Naruto surmised. The catalyst, Ajuka corrected. Your unique combination of powers, progenitor vampire abilities, tailed beast chakra, and sage energy, creates a neutral medium through which all faction energies can flow without conflict. Integra studied him critically. Can he handle that level of power channeling? Even Alucard has limits. I can handle it, Naruto assured her. Though it won't be pleasant. Serafall looked concerned. You're talking about channeling the combined powers of every supernatural faction leader simultaneously. The strain would be enormous. Which is why we need to prepare properly, Ajuka replied. I'll need time with the progenitor to establish compatibility protocols and power regulation systems. And what about Tatari's forces? Integra asked. His vessels will undoubtedly attack during the summit. Hellsing will handle perimeter defense, Surzex said, joining their conversation. Along with selected devil houses and angel squadrons. And Alucard? Naruto asked. Integra's expression remained neutral. My servant will participate as required. The planning continued well into the night, details refined and contingencies established. Throughout, Naruto found himself increasingly concerned about the strain the containment field would place on his body. Even with his extraordinary resilience, channeling so much diverse energy posed significant risks. We've handled worse, Kurama reminded him. Remember the 10 tails? Different scenario, Naruto thought back. That was pure chakra. This will be fundamentally incompatible energies, devil magic, angel grace, yokai spirit, vampire blood, dragon fire, all flowing through us simultaneously. Then we adapt, the fox replied simply. As we always have. After the council disbanded, Serafall insisted Naruto return to her territory. You need rest and preparation before Ajuka begins his compatibility tests. He didn't argue, recognizing the wisdom in her suggestion. The strain of recent battles and planning had taken more toll than he cared to admit. Back in her mansion, Serafall dropped her formal Satan persona completely, changing into casual clothes and collapsing onto a couch with a dramatic sigh. Politics, she groaned. The true eternal punishment of the underworld. Naruto smiled, taking a seat nearby. You handled it well. They respect you, despite the magical girl act. The act helps, she admitted, stretching. They underestimate me, which means I can surprise them when it matters. She studied him thoughtfully. You don't like formal power structures much, do you? Never have, Naruto confirmed. Even back in the ninja era, I was never comfortable with rigid hierarchies. Yet you were going to be Hokage, the leader of your village. Naruto raised an eyebrow. You know about that? I told you, I collect ninja artifacts and history. She grinned. The legends of the blonde ninja who saved the world made it into several ancient texts. Not by name, but the descriptions match. Those stories get exaggerated, Naruto said dismissively. Do they? Serafall sat up, suddenly serious. From what I've seen these past few days, the legends might have understated things. Their eyes met, a moment of genuine connection forming between them. In Serafall's gaze, Naruto saw not the playful Satan or the powerful devil, but someone who recognized the person beneath his accumulated titles and powers. The moment was interrupted by an alert from her security system. Magical screens materialized, showing disturbances at the mansion's perimeter. Snowmen engaging intruders, Serafall announced, already on her feet. Multiple signatures, not Tatari's vessels. Different energy pattern. Naruto reached out with his senses, immediately identifying the familiar presence. Alucard. And he's not alone. They moved to the entrance hall as the mansion's defenses activated. Outside, Alucard stood calmly as animated snowmen surrounded him. Beside him stood a young woman with blonde hair and a police uniform, her eyes glowing red with vampiric power. Quite the welcome, Alucard called when he spotted them at the door. Your snowmen pack quite a punch, Leviathan. What do you want, Alucard? Serafall demanded, ice forming around her hands. To deliver a message. He bowed theatrically. My master sends her regards and a warning, Tatari's vessels have been spotted near the Devil Royal District. We believe he's targeting the Devil Dimensional Anchor directly. Naruto stepped forward. Why not use the official channels? Because time is of the essence, the female vampire replied. I'm Sarah's Victoria. Sir Integra sent us immediately after receiving intelligence from our operatives. Serafall's expression hardened. The Royal District is where most of the original Devil families maintain their ancestral homes. If Tatari accesses the anchor there, then Devilkind would be the first casualty of his rejoining plan, Alucard finished, his usual mocking tone absent. Even Hellsing prefers the current arrangement of separate realms to whatever chaos Tatari envisions. Serafall activated her communication crystal, urgently contacting other Satans. After a brief, tense conversation, she turned back to the others. Surzex and Ajuka are mobilizing elite forces, but they're spread thin preparing for the summit. Her expression showed rare vulnerability. My territory is closest. We need to move now. Then let's not waste time, Naruto suggested, already summoning his combat equipment from storage seals. Alucard grinned, revealing elongated fangs. A vampire progenitor, a Satan, and Hellsing's weapons working together. How deliciously unprecedented. Serafall created a teleportation circle large enough for all of them. The Royal District is heavily warded. We'll need to materialize at the perimeter and proceed on foot. As the circle activated, Naruto found himself standing shoulder to shoulder with Alucard, two vampires of immense but fundamentally different powers, united temporarily against a greater threat. Try to keep up, Progenitor, Alucard taunted quietly. Try not to get in my way, Naruto replied. The teleportation completed, depositing them at the edge of what appeared to be an ancient city. Unlike the modern sections of the underworld, the Devil Royal District maintained architectural styles from millennia past, imposing structures of black stone and crimson crystal that radiated ancient power. Even before they oriented themselves, the sounds of battle reached them, magical explosions and the unmistakable void-like energy of Tatari's vessels disrupting devil magic. There, Sarah's pointed toward the district's center, where a massive structure resembling a cathedral dominated the skyline. Multiple energy signatures converging on the ancestral temple. The anchor is beneath the temple, Serafall explained as they moved toward the conflict. Protected by the combined bloodlines of the original devil houses. They encountered the first signs of battle 2 streets in, devil guards engaged with corrupted vessels that displayed a disturbing mixture of powers. Unlike previous encounters, these vessels seemed more refined, their movements more coordinated and their abilities better integrated. He's improving his creations, Naruto observed as they joined the fight. These ones aren't leaking energy like the earlier models. Serafall nodded grimly, her ice magic freezing 2 vessels simultaneously. He's applying what he learns from each encounter. Alucard laughed maniacally as he engaged multiple enemies, his form shifting between solid and shadow as he countered their attacks. Finally, worthy entertainment. They fought their way toward the temple, the opposition growing stronger with each block. Devil reinforcements arrived, led by house champions whose magical abilities demonstrated why Devilkind had survived countless conflicts throughout history. As they neared the temple steps, a massive explosion shook the district. The temple's main doors had been breached, dark energy pouring from within. We're too late, Serafall realized. He's already inside. Naruto focused his senses, analyzing the energy patterns. No, something's wrong. That's not Tatari's signature. They rushed forward, fighting through the remaining vessels to reach the temple entrance. Inside, they found devastation, ancient pillars shattered, magical wards disrupted, and devil guards lying unconscious or worse throughout the main hall. At the center stood not Tatari himself, but the childlike vessel they'd encountered previously, the one designed to absorb sage energy. It knelt before a massive seal embedded in the temple floor, its small hands pressed against glowing runes. "It's draining the anchor's protective spells," Serafall exclaimed. "We need to stop it now." They moved to engage, but the child vessel raised one hand, creating a barrier of corrupted sage energy that halted their advance. "Master requires this anchor," it stated in its mechanical voice. "Your interference is expected." But futile. Naruto studied the barrier, recognizing elements of sage techniques he'd learned centuries ago. "I can break through this. Cover me." As Serafall, Alucard, and Sarah's engaged remaining vessels that emerged from side chambers, Naruto gathered sage chakra, entering the heightened state that allowed him to manipulate natural energy directly. The child vessel noticed his transformation immediately, its eyes widening with something resembling hunger. "Sage, perfect sage." "Sorry, kid," Naruto replied, forming a Rasengan that swirled with purified nature energy. "But this anchor stays sealed." He thrust the technique against the barrier, which initially held firm before developing fractures where purified sage energy countered the corrupted version. With a final push, Naruto shattered the barrier completely, sending feedback that momentarily stunned the child vessel. Not wasting the opportunity, Naruto moved forward, chakra chains erupting to bind the small figure. Serafall. The anchor. She was already there, kneeling beside the seal and reinforcing its protective spells with her own ice magic. "The protective layers are damaged but holding. We need to," her words cut off as the child vessel suddenly convulsed, its body twisting unnaturally. Black energy erupted from its mouth and eyes, forming tendrils that sought the seal despite Naruto's restraints. He's using it as a conduit, Naruto realized. Tatari is channeling his power through the vessel. Alucard appeared beside them, his guns aimed at the child vessel's head. "Shall I end this abomination?" "No." Naruto tightened his chains. "If you destroy it while the connection is active, the feedback could damage the anchor further." The temple trembled as power surged through the small vessel, which began laughing with Tatari's voice. "Clever, but ultimately futile. This is merely one approach of many." Serafall completed a complex magical circle around the seal, stabilizing the protective layers. "Whatever you're planning, it won't work. The anchor remains secure." "For now," the vessel replied, its voice overlaid with Tatari's deeper tones. "But I've learned what I needed about devil defenses. The other anchors will be easier." Naruto reinforced his chains with purifying chakra, disrupting the connection between Tatari and his vessel. The child figure convulsed again, its form beginning to destabilize as the corrupted energy overloaded its capacity. "You're killing your own creation," Naruto said, genuinely disturbed despite knowing the vessel's artificial nature. "Vessels are replaceable," came Tatari's dismissive reply. "Knowledge is eternal." The child vessel's body began disintegrating, black energy leaking from increasingly large fissures in its skin. Its eyes, however, remained fixed on Naruto with disturbing intensity. "He wants you most of all," it whispered in its original voice, separate from Tatari's. "Your power completes the pattern." Before Naruto could respond, the vessel exploded in a surge of corrupted energy. Only his vampire reflexes and chakra shield prevented serious injury, though the blast knocked everyone back several meters. As the energy dissipated, Serafall crawled back to the seal, checking its integrity. "It held," she announced, relief evident in her voice. "The anchor remains stable." Alucard holstered his weapons, looking uncharacteristically solemn. This was a test, he's probing defenses, learning our responses. And sacrificing his creations to do it, Sarah's added, helping injured devil guards. Naruto stared at the spot where the child vessel had been, troubled by its final words. He wants my power specifically. Not just as a progenitor vampire, but for something else. Your combination of abilities is unique, Serafall reminded him. No other being combines vampire blood, tailed beast chakra, and sage energy. It's more than that, Naruto insisted. The vessel said I complete the pattern. Tadari isn't just collecting powers randomly, he has a specific formula he's following. Ajuka and Surzex arrived with reinforcements, immediately assessing the damage and strengthening the temple's defenses. After ensuring the anchor remained secure, they joined the discussion. The pattern is becoming clearer, Ajuka confirmed after hearing their account. Each anchor requires a specific type of energy to unlock, corresponding to the faction leader who helped create it. And my energy? Naruto asked. The ninja world didn't have an anchor. No, but the natural world did, Surzex replied. Sage energy represents the natural order, the background against which all supernatural realms exist. Which means Tadari needs sage energy specifically to access that anchor, Serafall concluded. And not just any sage energy, Ajuka added. Your particular combination with vampiric and tailed beast power creates something unique, a bridge between natural and supernatural energies. The implications were disturbing. If Tadari specifically needed Naruto's power to complete his plan, that made him both a primary target and a crucial component of the coming conflict. As devil forces secured the temple and tended to the injured, Serafall pulled Naruto aside. You need to be extra cautious now. Tadari won't just try to absorb your power, he'll try to use you specifically. I've been a target before, Naruto replied, though he appreciated her concern. Not like this. Her usual playfulness had vanished completely. This isn't just about power, it's about your unique energy signature. If he captures you. He won't, Naruto assured her, placing a hand on her shoulder. I've spent centuries developing countermeasures against those who might covet my abilities. Their eyes met again, that same connection forming between them. For a moment, the chaos around them faded, leaving just the two of them, a vampire and a devil, both burdened with responsibilities neither had initially sought. Just, be careful, she finally said, her voice uncharacteristically soft. I've gotten used to having you around. Before Naruto could respond, Ajuka approached with urgent news. We've detected similar disturbances near the Angel Realm's anchor. Michael is requesting immediate assistance. The moment broken, they rejoined the others to plan their next move. The pattern was now clear, Tadari was systematically testing each anchor's defenses, gathering information for his final assault. The summit is our best chance to end this, Surzex declared. We must accelerate preparations. The next 48 hours passed in a blur of preparation and defensive actions. Tatari's vessels attacked anchors across multiple realms, never fully committing to any single target, but gathering crucial intelligence with each probe. Through it all, Naruto worked closely with Ajuka, developing the containment field that would form the core of their counterattack at the summit. The process required him to undergo extensive compatibility testing, painful procedures that analyzed how his unique physiology responded to different supernatural energies. Your adaptation capacity is remarkable, Ajuka noted after a particularly grueling session. Most beings would disintegrate when exposed to opposing energies like angel grace and devil magic simultaneously. Naruto, recovering in one of Ajuka's medical chambers, managed a weak smile. Adaptability has always been my specialty. Indeed. Ajuka reviewed data on a floating display. Your body isn't just tolerating the conflicting energies, it's harmonizing them, creating temporary bridges between fundamentally incompatible forces. Will it be enough for the containment field? With proper preparation, yes. Ajuka manipulated the display, showing a model of the planned ritual. The faction leaders will channel their energies through you into the field matrix. Your unique constitution will prevent the energies from conflicting destructively while maintaining their distinct properties. And the risks? Naruto asked directly. Ajuka hesitated briefly. Substantial. Even with your extraordinary resilience, channeling so much diverse energy simultaneously will place enormous strain on your system. In the worst case, I could be torn apart at the molecular level, Naruto finished. Or absorbed into the field along with Tatari. Precisely. Though I've implemented safeguards to minimize those possibilities. Naruto nodded, appreciating the scientist's honesty. Any system can be improved. Let's keep working. Between sessions with Ajuka, Naruto joined defensive operations across various realms, working alongside angels, devils, yokai, and other factions to repel Tatari's increasingly sophisticated attacks. Each engagement revealed new aspects of their enemy's capabilities and strategy. Most concerning was the evolution of Tatari's vessels. Each new generation displayed better integration of stolen powers and greater tactical intelligence. By the final day before the summit, they encountered vessels that could seamlessly combine multiple supernatural abilities without the instability seen in earlier models. He's perfecting his formula, Naruto observed after a particularly difficult battle alongside Michael's angel forces. Each vessel teaches him more about combining disparate powers. Michael, the leader of Heaven's forces, nodded gravely. The ancient texts speak of Tatari's ultimate goal, not just absorbing powers, but achieving perfect synthesis of all supernatural energies. Creating a new primordial being, Naruto added. Himself as the god of a reunified reality. Throughout these operations, Naruto found himself working frequently with Serafall. Despite their different backgrounds and natures, they developed an effective partnership, her tactical mind complementing his adaptable fighting style. More than once, her quick thinking or his unexpected techniques saved them from difficult situations. And somewhere amidst the chaos and preparation, something deeper developed between them, a connection beyond mere battlefield cooperation. In quiet moments between crises, they shared parts of themselves rarely revealed to others. Serafall spoke of the burdens of leadership, the constant balance between her public persona and private responsibilities. Most see the magical girl act and dismiss me. It's a useful mask, but sometimes I forget where the performance ends and I begin. Naruto understood all too well. I spent centuries crafting different identities as the world changed around me. It's easy to lose yourself in the roles you play. How do you stay anchored? She asked during a rare peaceful evening at her mansion. After so many centuries, so many changes. Naruto considered the question seriously. I hold on to core principles. Rather than specific identities. The world changes, names and roles change, but certain values remain constant. Like what? Protecting the vulnerable. Standing against those who abuse power. Finding moments of joy even in dark times. He smiled slightly. And never giving up, no matter how impossible the odds. Serafall studied him thoughtfully. Those are very human values for someone who hasn't been human in centuries. Maybe that's why I've survived this long, Naruto replied. I never stopped being human in the ways that matter, even after my body changed. The night before the summit, after final preparations were complete, they stood together on the balcony of Serafall's mansion. The underworld's strange sky glowed with ethereal light, casting everything in soft crimson hues. Tomorrow will be dangerous, Serafall said, breaking the comfortable silence. Tatari will throw everything at us. We've faced worse odds, Naruto replied, though uncertainty nagged at him. Tatari's calculated approach and ancient knowledge made him unlike any enemy he'd confronted before. Have we? Serafall turned to face him directly. This isn't just another battle, Naruto. If Tatari succeeds even partially in accessing multiple anchors simultaneously, then we'll adapt, Naruto assured her. That's what we do, find solutions when there seem to be none. Serafall smiled faintly. Your confidence would be annoying if it wasn't so genuine. 5 centuries of impossible situations teaches you a certain perspective, he replied with a shrug. And what's your perspective on this? She asked, stepping closer. On us? This unexpected alliance between a devil and a vampire. Naruto met her gaze. I think labels like devil and vampire matter less than who we actually are. And I think some alliances are worth preserving beyond the crisis that formed them. Something shifted in her expression, vulnerability replacing the careful control she typically maintained. And if tomorrow goes badly? If the containment field fails, or Tadari outmaneuvers us? Then we face it together, Naruto replied simply. And find another way. The distance between them disappeared as Serafall moved forward, her lips meeting his with unexpected gentleness. The kiss deepened, centuries of loneliness and barriers falling away for both of them. When they finally separated, Serafall's eyes held a mixture of determination and newfound clarity. Whatever happens tomorrow, I'm glad fate or chance or whatever brought you into this fight. Me too, Naruto admitted, realizing how true it was. After centuries of deliberate isolation, he'd found something worth protecting beyond abstract principles, a connection that reminded him what he'd been fighting for all along. Dawn approached as they remained together, preparing in their own ways for the coming confrontation. Whatever Tadari planned, whatever challenges the summit would bring, they would face it as something more than reluctant allies. They would face it together. The dimensional confluence existed simultaneously in all realms while belonging to none, a nexus where the boundaries between worlds naturally thinned. Located in what humans would call the Bermuda Triangle, the confluence manifested as a massive stone platform floating in an endless void, accessible only through specific portals established by each faction. By midday, representatives from every major supernatural faction had arrived, devils led by the 4 great Satans, angels under Michael's leadership, fallen angels with Azazel at their head, various yokai clans, vampire noble houses, werewolf packs, and even dragon representatives. Security forces created concentric rings around the central platform, where faction leaders would conduct the containment ritual. Hellsin operatives, led by Integra and supported by Alucard and Ceres, controlled the outermost perimeter. Devil and angel forces managed the middle layers, while specialized yokai and other supernatural guardians protected the inner approaches. At the center, a Juka had established the containment field matrix, a complex array of magical circles, ritual components, and focal points that would channel the combined energies of all participants into a dimensional pocket capable of imprisoning even a being of Tatari's power. Naruto stood at the matrix's heart, a Juka making final adjustments to the specialized equipment that would allow him to safely channel multiple supernatural energies. These stabilizers will help regulate the flow, a Juka explained, attaching small devices to specific points on Naruto's body. But ultimately, your own control will determine success or failure. Naruto nodded, centering himself through meditation techniques perfected over centuries. Within his mindscape, Kurama prepared as well, reinforcing their shared chakra network against the coming strain. We'll need perfect synchronization, the fox noted. Like during the war, but more precise. And sustained longer, Naruto agreed. This won't be a quick battle. Outside his meditation, he became aware of Serafall approaching. She'd adopted her formal Satan appearance for the summit, though her eyes conveyed the person beneath the title. Final checks are complete, she reported. All faction leaders are in position, and perimeter defenses are at maximum strength. She lowered her voice. How are you feeling? Ready, Naruto replied simply, though they both knew the risks he faced. She squeezed his hand briefly, the small gesture conveying more than words could. I'll be at the northern point of the matrix. Direct line of sight to you. The summit formally began as Surzex addressed the gathered leaders, explaining the containment plan and each faction's role. As he spoke, Naruto extended his senses beyond the platform, scanning for threats. Something's wrong, Kurama warned suddenly. The energy patterns around us, they're too stable. Naruto frowned. Too stable. Tadari has been probing defenses for days, yet now there's nothing, not even minor disturbances. It's unnaturally quiet. Naruto caught Serafall's eye across the platform, subtly signaling caution. She nodded, discreetly enhancing her awareness while maintaining her formal stance. As faction leaders took their positions around the matrix, Ajuka activated the initial containment field components. Energy began flowing through precisely aligned channels, converging toward the center where Naruto stood. First phase initiated, Ajuka announced. Stabilizing dimensional parameters. The matrix hummed with power as each faction leader contributed their unique energy, devil magic, angel grace, yokai spirit, dragon fire, and more combining into a swirling pattern that surrounded the platform. Naruto felt the first tendrils of these diverse energies touching his aura, testing the compatibility protocols Ajuka had established. Despite careful preparation, the sensation was jarring, fundamentally different supernatural forces seeking equilibrium through his uniquely adapted system. Steady, Kurama cautioned as Naruto instinctively resisted the foreign energies. Let them flow through, not into. Naruto adjusted, creating pathways rather than barriers. The energies responded, flowing more smoothly through the channels he established. Second phase, Ajuka called. Expanding dimensional pocket. The energy flow intensified, the matrix glowing with combined power from all factions. At the perimeter, security forces remained vigilant, yet no attack materialized. Where is he? Integra's voice came through communication channels. Our intelligence confirmed Tadari knows about the summit. Perhaps he recognized the trap, Michael suggested. Serafall shook her head. No. He's too confident to simply avoid confrontation. Something else is, her words cut off as the matrix suddenly pulsed, energy patterns shifting unexpectedly. Naruto felt the change immediately, what should have been a balanced flow became erratic, certain energies dominating while others receded. The matrix is destabilizing. Ajuka warned, rushing to correct the imbalance. Too late, understanding dawned. Naruto looked around at the gathered faction leaders, recognizing the subtle wrongness that had eluded detection. He's already here, Naruto announced, his voice cutting through the growing chaos. Tadari is inside the summit. Confusion spread as leaders looked at each other suspiciously, but Naruto's enhanced senses had already identified the discrepancy. He pointed toward a yokai representative, a nine-tailed fox who had remained unusually silent throughout the proceedings. That's not Elder Yako, Naruto declared. The real Yako was injured days ago and couldn't attend. The accused yokai smiled, his form rippling as the disguise fell away. Impressive detection, Progenitor. Earlier than I anticipated, though not soon enough. Tadari stood revealed, no longer using vessels but appearing in his true form, a being of impossible grace whose features seemed to incorporate aspects of every supernatural race. His eyes shifted continuously between different powers, and his aura radiated multiple energy signatures simultaneously. You infiltrated as a participant, Surzex realized, power gathering around him. Of course. Tadari spread his arms, and the matrix's energy began flowing toward him instead of into the containment field. Why fight the combined might of faction leaders when I can simply redirect it? Faction leaders moved to disengage from the matrix, but found themselves locked in position, their energies continuously draining into channels now controlled by Tadari. The containment field, he explained casually, was always a brilliant concept. Creating a dimensional pocket through combined faction energies is precisely what's needed to access multiple anchors simultaneously. Naruto broke from the center of the matrix, chakra chains erupting to sever Tadari's connections to the energy flows. The ancient being countered with barriers composed of mixed supernatural powers. You've modified the matrix, Naruto accused, recognizing alterations in the energy patterns. When did you make the changes? Tadari smiled. I didn't need to. Your brilliant devil scientist designed exactly what I needed, a system to harmonize conflicting supernatural energies. I merely needed to redirect its purpose. Ajuka's expression showed rare shock as he realized the truth. The containment field and Tatari's rejoining mechanism operate on the same principle, balanced supernatural energies creating dimensional effects. I've spent millennia trying to recreate this precise configuration, Tatari confirmed. Imagine my delight when you built it for me, using the best minds of every faction. Security forces converged on the platform, but found themselves blocked by suddenly materializing vessels, dozens of Tatari's creations emerging from concealed positions throughout the confluence. Did you think I came alone? Tatari laughed as battle erupted across every layer of defense. Alucard's voice came through communication channels, uncharacteristically urgent. The vessels are targeting the portal connections. They're trying to isolate the confluence. Naruto turned to Serafall and the other Satan leaders. Break the matrix. Destroy the connections before he can fully redirect them. The faction leaders struggled against the energy bonds that held them in position. Some managed to disrupt their connections, but others found their powers flowing uncontrollably into Tatari's modified system. Serafall broke free with a massive ice explosion that shattered her section of the matrix. Everyone! Target the central confluence point. Tatari moved with blinding speed, appearing before Naruto with hand extended. You're the keystone, Progenitor. Your unique energy signature completes the pattern. His hand thrust forward, aiming for Naruto's chest where Kurama's chakra concentrated. Naruto countered with a Rasengan infused with both vampire blood and sage chakra, a swirling orb of golden crimson energy that collided with Tatari's absorption technique. The resulting explosion sent both combatants flying across the platform. Naruto recovered mid-air, creating shadow clones that engaged Tatari from multiple angles. Around them, the summit descended into chaos. Faction leaders fought to disengage from the corrupted matrix while security forces battled increasingly powerful vessels. The very fabric of the confluence trembled as conflicting supernatural energies tore through its structure. Serafall reached Naruto as his clones continued engaging Tatari. The matrix is completely corrupted. He's using it to locate all anchors simultaneously. Can we destroy it completely? Naruto asked, deflecting a blast of mixed energy Tatari had directed at them. Not without potentially destabilizing the confluence itself, she replied grimly. We'd be stranded between dimensions. Across the platform, Ajuka worked frantically to counter Tatari's modifications, his hands blurring as he rewrote magical formulas and redirected energy flows. I need time. If I can reverse the polarity of the matrix, we can still create a containment field. How much time? Naruto demanded, creating more shadow clones to reinforce various defensive positions. 3 minutes, minimum. Naruto exchanged glances with Serafall. I'll keep Tatari occupied. Help Ajuka and coordinate the other leaders. Before she could protest, he moved toward Tatari with preternatural speed, golden chakra cloaking his form as he tapped into Kurama's power more deeply than before. The fox's energy merged with his vampiric essence, creating a hybrid form that radiated overwhelming power. Tatari sensed the transformation, turning from his manipulation of the matrix with newfound interest. Ah, the Nine-Tails power. The missing piece of my collection. You won't get the chance to add it, Naruto replied, chakra arms extending from his golden cloak to attack from multiple angles. Tatari countered each strike with different supernatural abilities, angel light deflecting one attack, devil fire another, dragon scales hardening his skin against physical impacts. He moved with the combined grace of every being he'd absorbed, each motion flowing seamlessly between different fighting styles. Do you understand now why I must succeed? Tatari asked as they exchanged devastating blows that shook the platform. Look how beautifully these powers complement each other when properly integrated. Imagine a world where such harmony extends to all reality. Forced integration isn't harmony, Naruto countered, landing a sage-enhanced strike that briefly disrupted Tatari's defenses. You're not creating unity, you're imposing uniformity. Their battle intensified as Tatari abandoned all pretense of restraint. He unleashed combinations of powers. Never before seen, angel grace twisted into offensive weapons, devil magic enhanced with dragon fire, yokai illusions given physical form through vampiric blood manipulation. Naruto matched him technique for technique, centuries of accumulated knowledge allowing him to counter even the most exotic combinations. When Tatari unleashed corrupted sage techniques, Naruto responded with purified versions. When fallen angel spears of light targeted his vital points, shadow clones intercepted with chakra shields. Across the platform, Ajuka worked feverishly to reconfigure the matrix, assisted by Serafall and other faction leaders who had broken free from Tatari's control. The corrupted energy flows gradually shifted, some returning to their original patterns while others remained diverted. 60 seconds more. Ajuka called over the din of battle. Tatari sensed the changing dynamics of the matrix and redoubled his assault on Naruto, his attacks becoming increasingly desperate. You cannot stop what has been set in motion. The anchors are already responding to my call. True to his words, the void surrounding the confluence rippled as distant points of light appeared, the dimensional anchors resonating with the corrupted matrix's energy. Naruto pressed his advantage, recognizing Tatari's divided attention. You're overextended. Trying to control too many processes simultaneously. He formed a massive Raisin Shuriken, the technique combining wind nature chakra with both sage energy and vampiric power. The resulting orb pulsed with devastating potential, microscopic blades of combined energy spinning at impossible speeds. This ends now. Naruto declared, launching the technique directly at Tatari's core. The ancient being raised barriers of multiple supernatural energies, but the Raisin Shuriken cut through each layer, its unique composition countering even Tatari's most sophisticated defenses. When the technique struck, the explosion engulfed half the platform in blinding light. Energy tendrils extended outward, severing Tatari's connections to the matrix temporarily. Ajuka seized the opportunity. Now. All leaders, channel your energy through the reconfigured nodes. The faction leaders responded instantly, redirecting their power through Ajuka's modified system. The matrix hummed with renewed purpose, dimensional energy converging toward a single point. As the light from Naruto's attack faded, Tatari remained standing, wounded but far from defeated. His body regenerated visibly, drawing on multiple healing abilities simultaneously. Impressive, he acknowledged, genuine respect in his voice. But ultimately futile. He raised his hand toward the matrix, preparing to reassert control. Before he could act, a new presence entered the battle. Alucard materialized from shadows, his form shifting between his various release states. You've forgotten something important, Ancient One. The pet vampire, Tatari dismissed. Your power is already accounted for in my calculations. Not mine, Alucard grinned maniacally. Hers. Serafall appeared behind Tatari, her expression cold as Arctic winter. You threatened my realm, endangered my friends, and ruined what should have been a perfectly good summit. Her magic manifested differently than before, not just ice, but something more fundamental. The temperature around her dropped to impossible levels as she activated her true power. Absolute zero, she announced, her voice echoing with authority. The complete absence of thermal energy. The space around Tatari crystallized, fundamental particles ceasing all movement as Serafall's ultimate technique took effect. Even light seemed to slow and distort within the affected area. Now, Naruto, she called, strain evident in her voice as she maintained the technique. Naruto didn't hesitate, forming a final Rasengan that incorporated all his various energies, vampire blood, sage chakra, Kurama's power, and his own life force combined into a perfect sphere of balanced forces. As he thrust the technique into the temporarily immobilized Tatari, Ajuka completed the matrix reconfiguration. The containment field activated, dimensional energy converging precisely as the Rasengan connected. The result transcended conventional understanding of supernatural combat. Tatari's form distorted, stretched between dimensions as the containment field engaged with his very essence. Simultaneously, Naruto's technique disrupted the complex energy patterns that maintained Tatari's integrated abilities. No. Tatari's voice echoed across dimensions. I was so close. The rejoining, his protest cut off as the containment field fully activated, creating a dimensional pocket that enveloped his form completely. For a moment, reality itself seemed to hold its breath, energy patterns freezing as multiple supernatural forces balanced on the edge of catastrophic conflict. Then, with a sound like the universe exhaling, the field collapsed inward, taking Tatari with it into a pocket dimension beyond conventional access. The sudden absence of opposing force sent feedback through the matrix, overloading its components. Explosive energy cascaded across the platform as the carefully designed system failed catastrophically. Naruto reached Serafall just as the wave of uncontrolled power hit, wrapping her in a protective embrace enhanced by Kurama's chakra. Around them, other faction leaders created their own defenses, shields of various supernatural energies forming throughout the confluence. When the chaos finally subsided, the platform stood in ruins, the magnificent matrix reduced to scattered components and broken channels. Faction representatives gradually emerged from protective barriers, assessing injuries and confirming that Tatari's vessels had dissolved following his containment. Naruto helped Sarah fall to her feet, her strength depleted by the ultimate technique she'd employed. That was some ice magic, he commented, supporting her weight. Not just ice, she replied weakly. Entropy manipulation. Costs a bit more than my usual tricks. Around them, the summit participants gathered, expressions showing exhaustion mixed with cautious relief. Ajuka approached, his usually immaculate appearance disheveled from the battle. Preliminary readings confirm successful containment, he reported. The dimensional pocket is stable, though I wouldn't call it permanent. Meaning? Surzex asked, joining them. Meaning we've bought time, not achieved final victory, Ajuka clarified. The pocket dimension will hold Tatari for decades, perhaps centuries, but something went wrong with this response, please try again. Start the next chapter now. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.